He was the worst student at the academy. His father was a famous study hero, but he was nothing. His name was Hinata Asahi. In this world, people awaken materials from another realm, but for him, nothing happened. That's why he did the impossible. He ran 10 kilometers in the rain, lifted over 100 kilos, and threw thousands of kicks every day. Even after all that, he was still weak. Hinata was humiliated at school every single day. They stepped on his head and smashed chairs into his face. Girls didn't even look at him anymore. But everything changed when the damage he had taken reached 10,000. His suit evolved to the Indomitable level. And finally, Hinata awakened the system of explosive growth. April 2032. Valkyrie National School. Freshmen are asked one question. Are you ready? A man announces the start of the long-awaited class allocation exam. For the first test, the students race through the forest to confront goblins. Sitting at his desk, a commentator watches the feed, asking the citizens for their votes. A flurry of comments pops up on the live stream, praising the new recruits. Facing the camera, he warns that these results will define their entire futures. Deep in the forest, a pack of goblins moves through the trees. Suddenly, a student strikes one with a direct hit. Right after, a female student slices through several goblins with a single sword stroke. Leaping over a monster, another girl readies her spear attack. With massive force, she drives the spear into the ground right in front of a goblin. From their homes, viewers watch the broadcast, voting for the top students. It's explained that in this school, strength guarantees fame and fortune. In the middle of the woods, two students hear a loud noise and go on alert. Revealing the source of the sound, a camera drone speeds over the vegetation. Elsewhere, running desperately through the forest, a student screams as he flees from a monster. Trying to fight back, he gets smashed in the head by the goblin's club. He hits the ground and scrambles to grab a branch for a weapon. With difficulty, he manages to get a firm grip on the piece of wood. But the moment he tries to use it, he immediately starts screaming in pain. A system message flashes. His suit prevents him from equipping weapons. Tossing the branch aside, he turns to face the goblin completely unarmed. Decided, he starts tearing at his own suit with all his might. The next moment, he's lying on the ground, appearing unconscious. Yet, even after taking a beating, he tries to get back up to continue the fight. His face is bruised, but his expression is determined. Suit gone, he grabs the branch and charges at the goblin, screaming. On the broadcast, the audience realizes the suit itself was his relic. Narrating his history, he says his school life began with that very suit. A flashback reveals the time monsters emerged and nearly destroyed the world. Continuing the flashback, he looks out over the ruined city, where humanity awaited its end. Completely paralyzed, he stares at the landscape of destruction before him. Suddenly, a giant dragon emerges from the skies, flying straight toward him. Opening its maw, the creature prepares to fire a breath attack. The dragon unleashes a massive blast of fire right at the boy. Emerging to protect him, two warriors appear, blocking the attack with their relics. It's then explained that relics are the manifestation of a person's soul. He remembers his father, his greatest hero, used a relic to protect everyone. Back in the fight, his father defends himself alongside his comrade. Shouting his name, his father orders the boy to take the girls and run. He tells his son to become strong enough to protect everyone. Desperate, the boy reaches out and screams as he watches his father disappear. Helpless, the boy begins to cry over the loss of his father. Falling to his knees, he continues weeping amidst the city's rubble. At that moment, a hand grabs his arm and starts pulling him away. Being dragged by the girl, he remembers the powerlessness he felt that day. Because of that, he trained tirelessly, running even in the pouring rain. At the gym, he pushed himself as if his life depended on it. To get stronger, he followed his father's words every single day. After half a year at the school, he finally realized a harsh reality. Back in the present, a bully asks if it isn't time for him to give up. Already on the floor, he hears the guy ordering him to go buy food. Without warning, the classmate dumps an entire carton of milk on his head. He concludes that hard work doesn't always lead to good results. Saying he almost forgot, the bully slaps him hard on the back. Then he sticks a paper to his back and threatens him not to take it off. With a dirty face, he clenches his fist tightly in silence. Walking down the hallway, other students mock him and his situation. Suddenly, he stops and looks to the side with a serious expression. At that moment, the strongest student in the entire school appears in the corridor. Passing by him, she notices his presence. The two cross paths for an instant without exchanging a single word. As he keeps walking, she stands still in the hallway, head down. A flashback reveals that the girl, Shizuku, also lost her father. He explains that since entering the school, their relationship changed. As an honor student, she excelled with her powerful relic. He, on the other hand, ended up a failure with a relic considered useless. Back in the present, A classmate waits for him at the classroom door. The boy throws a shoe, hitting him squarely in the head. Sitting on a desk, the bully complains that he's too slow. Irritated, another classmate tells the bully not to throw shoes and to go get them himself. Ignoring the argument, he just turns to enter the room. Arriving at his classroom, Class E, he finds the problem students. 2 female students comment that even the teachers don't care about that class. The bully gets annoyed and asks why he's being ignored. Activating his relic, the bully prepares to strike his classmate. He lands a heavy blow right in the other guy's stomach. Breaking the rules, he asks if the kid is doing this on purpose. Leaning over him, the bully warns that maybe he needs to learn a lesson. It's explained that in Class E, he is considered the worst of them all, but a classmate asks him to stop, saying he's going to ruin the bread. On the table sit the 2 loaves of bread he bought earlier. Saying he'll reward him, Takayuki starts kicking the guy on the ground. Nearby, 2 female students comment that he's pitiful for getting beaten up. One asks why they hate him, and the other replies it's his own fault. She says it was because of a battle where he was too persistent. Because he lacked a finishing move, Takayuki received a terrible evaluation on the test. They agree he's persistent, but there's a limit to taking a beating. Out of patience, Takayuki lifts him by the collar using his activated relic. Holding him high, the bully asks if he understands his place. With a counter reading 99D, he smiles as he continues getting beaten. Grabbing the bully's arm, he manages to stop the next blow. Then he hits back with a direct punch to Takayuki's face. Getting hit multiple times in succession, the counter keeps rising rapidly. From the force of the impact, he's thrown backward, crashing into the desks. Now lying on the floor, he watches the 2 classmates standing over him. Takayuki approaches and asks the reason for that arrogant look on his face. Then he says his parents' relics must have been trash too. Hearing the insult, his eyes widen at the classmate's provocation. Leaning in, the bully threatens to end his entire family. Clenching his fist tightly, the mark on his hand becomes evident. With disdain, Takayuki challenges him to fight back if he has any courage. Though battered, he remains on the floor, not averting his gaze from the bully. Seeing the situation escalate, the other classmate shouts Takayuki's name to stop him. Trying to hold him back, the boy asks if that isn't enough already. Approaching him, Takayuki asks if he's trying to protect the loser. Scared, the classmate denies it, saying he doesn't care about that trash. Takayuki then orders him to attack as well, pointing to a chair. With no other choice, the classmate grabs the chair and prepares to strike. Using the chair, he delivers a hard blow to the other student's head. With that final hit, the counter finally reaches the 10,000 mark. Satisfied, Takayuki tells the boy to get the bread, and he obeys immediately. Completely defeated, he remains lying on the floor of the messy classroom. Even after more than 10 years of training, the effort brought no results. But suddenly, a system notification appears beside him on the floor. Flashing on the screen, the message says the damage condition has been met. He is notified that he can upgrade his beginner suit to unshakable. Though wounded and bleeding from the face, he cracks a small smile. Determined not to give up, he activates his relic and prepares to stand up. Rewinding 6 months, he enters the basement training portal. Haunted by his beating during the exam, he feared expulsion for lack of skill. At Valkyrie Academy, the rules were crystal clear. Taxpayer-funded and ruthless, the school expelled useless students without mercy. He needed that government support. He couldn't get kicked out. He clenches his fist, remembering there's still a chance. Relics can grow. They say the more a sacred relic is used, the stronger it gets. He eyes his own relic, wondering what special ability that suit holds. Shaking off negative thoughts, he opens the massive portal door with determination. He was done living like this. It was time for a change. Sometime later, he's on the ground, battered and drained. As he lies there, a goblin approaches. The situation is critical. Crawling, he realizes he has no chance barehanded. Struggling to stand, he debates taking off the suit to fight. But no, he needs to figure out how to deal damage with the suit itself. Flashbacks hit him. He yells, trying to use a branch as a weapon. Terrified, the imminent danger finally sinks in. No time to think. He turns to face the charging goblin. The monster swings its club with everything it has, but he manages to catch the weapon with both hands, stopping the blow. He tries to use the club, but falls, triggering a system warning. Fighting through the pain, he screams that he'll never give up and holds on tight. Using the monster's own momentum, he throws it over his shoulder. The goblin hits the ground, defeated, and begins to dissolve. Exhausted, he tells himself he finally beat the creature. Lying there, he decides that method is a one-time thing. He spots a small magic stone on the ground, left behind by the goblin. The stone shines intensely in his fingers, then suddenly vanishes. Confused, he stares at his empty hand. A notification pops up. His suit absorbed the magic stone. New functions have been added to his system. Back in the present, the The moment has finally arrived in his dorm room. He checks the mirror. The condition is met, but he doesn't know how to upgrade. The system prompts him. Updates are voice activated. Reading the message, he finally understands the procedure. He shouts the command word, initiating the suit's improvement process. Energy envelops his body, completely transforming the uniform. The transformation settles. He stands there with the new Indomitable suit activated. He eyes himself in the mirror, wondering if the performance changed too. Suddenly, a status screen appears, showing his stats for the first time. The description confirms it. The suit offers protection and growth. He checks his watch. The training portal is open. Determined, he clenches his fist. He wants to test the upgraded suit's power. Cut to the portal. A larger goblin appears under the moonlight. Almost instantly, a swift strike cuts through the air toward the monster. With a single blow of her sword, Shizuku slices a goblin in half. After defeating them, she comments that they aren't even worth practicing on anymore. Suddenly, she looks aside, noticing movement in the forest. Walking among the trees, he is spotted by her in his new suit. Moments later, a classmate arrives, calling Shizuku's name. Seeing her expression, the friend asks what's happening. Shizuku turns away. It's nothing. Then her friend remembers him, the guy from the broadcast accident. She suggests he should just quit and become a stage performer. Gauging her reaction, the friend asks if Shizuku is angry about the comment. She says she isn't angry, just tired of being disappointed. Her friend wonders why she dislikes the boy so much, but thinking about it, she realizes a very important detail. She questions if that guy's suit always looked that different. Speeding forward, the Goblin's club attacks the student. He's ready. He blocks the club with his forearm. The defense worked. He notes that the suit will help him advance. Seizing the opening, he lands a heavy blow on the monster's chin. Clutching its jaw, the goblin glares at him with rage. Suddenly, a second goblin appears behind him unnoticed. The creature grabs him from behind and slams him to the ground. Pinned on his back, he's immobilized on the forest floor. Unable to break free, he watches a third goblin approach with a club. He tries to protect himself, but takes hit after hit. Lying on the ground, he covers up, trying to resist the assault. He looks around. He's completely surrounded by goblins. Terrified, he wonders where all these creatures suddenly came from. Surrounded, he realizes this situation could be fatal. Desperate, wounded, he reaches out a hand, begging for help. A flashback hits him. His father's words about self-confidence. His father advised him to become a strong hero. With renewed determination, he decides he will fight on his own. As the goblins attack, he prepares to put a plan into action. Clasping his hands, he concentrates on a new approach. A system screen appears before him with new information. He decides to try the same tactic as before. He manages to grab one of the goblins' weapons. Using the distraction, he dives into the middle of the other goblins. His relic begins to shine, indicating an ability has activated. Propelling himself forward, he says it's not a question of power or not. The system informs him he acquired the ability, Vengeance. He says he must do this, and the conditions are met. The description reads that the ability converts damage into power. Seeing the goblins advance, he readies the new ability. No time to think. He's going to use Vengeance. Yelling Vengeance, he activates the ability with a clenched fist. A countdown begins as he charges the monsters. He grabs a goblin and slams it into the ground with full force. He lands among the others who retreat from the impact. Readying another attack, he launches himself at the enemies. A direct hit sends the first goblin flying. Wasting no time, he prepares the next strike. Delivering the final blow, he hits the target squarely. As the timer hits 0, he strikes the ground, creating a massive shockwave. After the attack, he stands still, observing the result. Collapsing from exhaustion, he receives the ability usage notification. He realizes the limitation. The ability only works once. He concludes he can't keep fighting like this forever. Still confused about the relic, he questions its true nature. Then he spots a small stone shining on the forest floor. He approaches and picks up the small fallen magic stone. The stone glows intensely and is completely absorbed by his hand. Right after, a system notification appears right in front of him. Seeing the new functions, he says that now he can keep getting stronger. A week later, a hobgoblin sniffed the air as it stalked through the dark forest. Suddenly, a shadowy figure leapt from the trees, aiming directly for the beast. With a decisive blow, he struck the hobgoblin's head with full force. Giving it no chance to react, the monster crumpled to the ground, utterly defeated. He tended to his wounds, remarking that he had finally managed to take down a hobgoblin. Just then, a system window popped up, indicating a completed objective. Standing over the monster, he surveyed the results of his first real victory. He hefted the club, commenting that he could finally start using weapons in combat. Analyzing the reward, he realized taking down a tough opponent had been worth it. Later, he checked his new status window, noting big changes in the relic. A list of improvements appeared, showing the conditions needed to further strengthen his suit. Reading the screen, he understood that most requirements involved hunting more monsters. Thinking about how to evolve, he wondered what the necessary trigger would be. While resting in the forest, he continued to reflect on what that trigger might be. Remembering the past, he noted that he obtained vengeance before the list even appeared. He then recalled the message about the suit reacting to his indomitable spirit. Lying there, he wondered if the trigger was a matter of mindset. Then, an idea struck him, questioning if the true trigger was an emotion. The scene shifted to a flashback, showing the facade of a modern hospital. Walking down a hallway, the young man headed toward one of the rooms. Lying in bed, the girl saw him and called out with a smile. Getting closer, he asked if he could sit, and she said she felt great. She then showed off her arm, saying she needed to get stronger before being discharged. With a slight smile, he simply said he understood what she was talking about. Then she asked if their mother didn't seem a little better today. Since the incident, their mother hadn't woken from her sleep in 10 years. It was all caused by crystal disease, which came from the poison of certain monsters. His younger sister had also been affected, but she was recovering thanks to their mother. Telling her she might be discharged next year, he left her looking a bit confused. The problem was, as he left, he noticed a man passing in the hallway. His sister then greeted Mr. Ginji, who had just entered the room. Smiling, the man told Hikari that she seemed to be doing very well. Handing her a basket, he said it was a gift for her recovery. Just then, he placed a hand on the young man's shoulder, saying the timing was perfect. Leaning in slightly, he invited him to talk for a moment alone. Now in another room, they stood near some vending machines to talk. While grabbing a can, he asked if it wasn't time for an answer yet. Introduced as Kagura Ginji, he was the master of the powerful Phoenix Guild. Ginji said that to take care of his sister and mother, he was going to need money. Telling him not to hesitate, Ginji asked if he didn't want to find the cure. Angry, the young man clenched his fists because Ginji's demand was the worst possible scenario. It was explained that the disease crystals possessed properties similar to mana. Because of this, rare patients were secretly traded at extremely high prices for research. Understanding the proposal, he refused to hand over his mother to be used as a guinea pig. Unfazed, Ginji asked if his father's inheritance hadn't run out yet. Asking how long he could hold on, Ginji pressured him regarding the hospital expenses. Then he warned that with a weak relic, he would never be able to support his family. Clenching his fist tightly, he insisted that he would still have to refuse. He then declared that he would protect his family in any way he could. It was revealed that this was the last promise he made to his father. He asked Ginji not to mention anything to his sister, and Ginji said he agreed. Walking away, Ginji told him to get in touch if he happened to change his mind. With an irritated look, the guildmaster stared at the young man who stood firm. Determined, he went back to the room to protect his family in his father's place. Seeing him arrive, his sister asked what that earlier conversation was about. Looking at his mother, he decided he needed to get into a good guild. He then affirmed to himself that he needed to get much stronger now. Leaving the hospital, he walked down the street in front of his old school. He checked his phone, realizing the school portal was still open. Decided not to rest, he heard a scream from someone begging to be let go. Seeing a group surrounding a girl, he recognized his own school's uniform. He recognized her as Akane, who yelled that she didn't need their money. Deciding not to get involved, he turned his back and continued walking down the street. Further ahead, the group cornered the girl, warning that the seniors were waiting. One of the guys asked her to stop pretending and asked if she'd never done this before. She tried to explain it was a misunderstanding, but he claimed to have heard it from someone. Smiling, he threatened her, asking if it wouldn't be a problem for this to spread. The group kept saying she should go out with them because a senior liked her. With a somber look, she just clenched her right fist very tightly. Suddenly, she turned and spat directly into the bully's face. Surprised by her attitude, the guy stood frozen with a wet face. Looking him dead in the eye, she told him exactly where he could go without hesitation. Shocked by her behavior, the aggressor trembled with rage at her response. Furious, he grabbed her and yelled for her to stop pretending to be innocent. Pushing him away, she screamed not to be touched, and that she never did that. Yelling that it didn't matter, the bully advanced to grab the girl by force, but a hand appeared very quickly, moving toward the aggressor. Interrupting the attack, he held the bully's wrist firmly in midair. Surprised, the girl looked shocked at the scene right in front of her. Protecting the girl, he placed himself in front of her, staring down the group of bullies. Then the aggressor asked who he was, saying the uniform looked familiar. Commenting on him, the girls said he was the weakest of Class E. Smiling, the bully remembered that he caused the accident during the test. Then he told him to leave, warning that they had business with Akane. Without moving, he remained standing in front of the girl, facing the group. Irritated by his attitude, the bully clenched his fists, ready to attack. Then he charged in yelling and unleashed a strike with all his might. Akane warned that they were Class C and that he couldn't beat them. With a quick movement, he blocked the aggressor's blow using only one hand. Immediately following up, he counterattacked with a powerful punch right to the bully's stomach. Hit squarely, the bully was thrown backward by the impact of the blow. After the strike, the aggressor crashed hard onto the ground, totally defeated. Without reacting, the girl just stared at what had just happened right there. Standing over the fallen opponent, he stared down the rest of the group of bullies. Scene change. At the gym's kickboxing club, several students are training together. The coach tells her to yell louder during the drill. Inside the ring, the girl readies herself for combat, keeping her guard high. She stares down her sparring partner, who also gets into a fighting stance. With a quick movement, the man throws a straight jab right at her. Dodging the punch, she prepares her counterattack. Immediately, she launches a high kick with great speed and precision. Her foot grazes past his face, almost hitting him square on. Finishing the move, she completes the strike, showcasing her incredible combat skills. Impressed, he admits defeat and tells her she's truly amazing. Thanking him for the session, she listens as he praises her fighting abilities. Then he comments that he heard about her artifact, mentioning it's also excellent. Wiping her face, she confirms that improving her skills was her main goal. Later in the locker room, she stares silently at the lockers for a moment. Back in the alley, he assumes his fighting stance, facing down the other bullies. Watching him, she wonders why he's getting involved in this. Furious, one of the attackers rushes him, shouting insults. Dodging the attack, he quickly positions himself behind his opponent. Right after, he slams the bully onto the ground with full force. But the other attacker grabs him from behind, trying to immobilize him. Without much effort, he hurls the guy against a nearby wall. Then he jumps into the air, preparing a flying strike against the last enemy. The blow lands squarely on the bully, finishing the fight. Seeing the scene, the girl is completely shocked by the outcome. With the 3 bullies on the ground, he turns to face the girl. She realizes he only seemed weak because of his artifact. Asking if they want to continue, he stares at the bully getting up from the ground. With no strength left to fight, the attacker falls back down, exhausted. Then he stands up and summons his artifact, refusing to give up. Angrily, the bully fires a powerful attack at his opponent. Standing still, he just watches the approaching attack with total focus. Hit squarely, he takes the full impact of the artifact's blow. The force of the attack throws him backward, sending him flying down the alley. But upon landing, he recovers quickly, landing on his feet. The fallen bully wonders if he somehow missed the shot by an inch. Adjusting his tie, he seems to have suffered no damage from the attack. Meanwhile, some people on the street wonder what's happening over there. Hearing the crowd, one of them suggests calling the police because of the artifact. Shouting at the bully, the girls warn him that he needs to flee fast. Angrily, the attacker glares at the boy before preparing to run. After threatening that he'll pay, the group of bullies flees the scene. Worried, the girl asks if he's okay since he took a direct hit. He just replies that he's fine, as he barely took any damage from it. Saying he's leaving, he turns and starts walking away. But she asks him to wait, asking if he doesn't want to know the reason. He says everyone has things they'd prefer not to discuss with others. Then she asks him to at least tell her why he helped her. Confused, he just stares at her in silence for a brief moment. Then he points to the bouquet she's holding in her hands. Asking if she's going to visit someone, he tells her to get going. Bouquet in hand, she just watches him walk away. She then reveals she thought he was pathetic for always getting beat up without fighting back. Walking away, she remarks that he's actually a decent person. The next day, he walks down the school hallways with other students. Suddenly, a hand appears from behind, tapping his shoulder to get his attention. Smiling, the girl greets him as he turns toward her. Surprised, he just greets her back, not understanding what she wants. Then she says she forgot to thank him and that he saved her. Awkwardly, he replies that something like that did happen to them. Coming from the other room, the bully prepares to shoot his artifact. Hit directly in the head, he is surprised by the artifact's attack. With no chance to defend himself, he falls hard onto the hallway floor. Arriving at the scene, the group leader says he's a little late. Then he ironically thanks him for the previous day, staring down at the boy on the floor. Watching from afar, the girls wonder what he did to anger them. Trying to intervene, she asks them to talk to her, but is ignored. Warning that they were interrupted, he says that at school everything is permitted for them. Sitting on the floor, he comments that they look like Class E losers. Enraged, the bully shouts not to be compared and hits him. He takes the blow directly, but continues to stare determinedly at the aggressor. Reacting quickly, he tries to land a blow on his opponent, but the other bully blocks the strike using his gauntlet artifact. Saying it's useless, he warns the boy that he's no match for him. Suddenly, another bully uses his artifact to trap his leg. Caught by surprise, he is lifted off the ground by the artifact's tail. Saying he's going to torment him, the bully threatens the boy while holding him in the air. But in that instant, he is hit with a hard blow to the back of the neck. Holding her artifact, Akane tells him to stop, calling him truly pathetic. Smiling, the bully says he was surprised by her attitude. Then she explains that her artifact's performance is far superior to his. With a mocking smile, he asks if she wants to see the difference firsthand. Without hesitation, he uses the artifact to slam the boy hard onto the floor. From the force of the impact, he's thrown violently to the side. Flying down the hallway, he crashes violently against the metal wall. Seeing the scene, Akane screams, but he says he just wanted an excuse. After that, he and his group simply turn to leave the scene. Hidden in the hallway, 2 other students watch all the confusion from afar. Completely motionless, the boy remains lying on the floor after the attack. Starting to get up, he wonders aloud how it doesn't hurt. As he stands up, he remembers the previous day and looks at his hand. Realizing the situation, he wonders if he was the one who grew, not the suit. Seeing him standing, the bully wonders if he went too easy on him. At that moment, he clenches his fists and activates an ability called Vengeance. With a determined look, he focuses completely on the group of bullies in front of him. Running at high speed, he charges toward his opponents to attack. Ready for combat, he shouts that he's no longer the weakling he was before. A direct hit. He stops the bully's artifact with just 1 strike. The impact throws the bully off balance. He's completely shocked by what just happened. Seizing the chance, he lands another blow, ready to end it. The force of the punch sends the bully flying backwards, slamming into the wall. Watching the scene, the other students are stunned by the raw strength he just showed. Totally confused, the bully wonders how he stopped such a powerful attack. Then he questions how the guy is still standing after taking a hit from the artifact. Staring down the bullies, he stands tall, ready to keep fighting. Lying on the ground, the bully groans in pain, but someone asks if he's okay. Trying to play it off, he says it was just a scare and that he's totally fine. Then the group leader realizes the artifact didn't work right during the attack. Seeing the result, he realizes the revenge effect was way too weak. This worries him. He doesn't have another move to use in the fight. Even so, the boy decides to fight. He says he's tired of always getting beaten up by them. But right then, a teacher appears in the hallway, asking what's going on. Annoyed, the leader of the bullies says there's no reason to keep fighting now. Watching the group leave, the girls just stare at the scene in silence. With a serious look, Akane's friend seems deep in thought about the whole situation. Later, the senior says the guy scared him for nothing, mocking his reaction. Walking away, he promises he'll finish the guy off next time. The girl realizes he fought against Class C and came out unscathed. Lunchtime arrives, and students start streaming out of the classrooms. Going into the bathroom, the boy locks himself in a stall to think. Sitting there, he realizes the artifact's power wasn't just from the suit. Looking at the screen, he understands that his artifact boosts more than just the suit. He realizes he can use the abilities even without wearing it. Stepping out of the stall, he realizes he lacks attack power right now. He wonders how he's going to reach the next power level. Outside, the senior asks why he didn't say he was going. Putting his arm around his shoulder, he says he was going to praise his work. Showing off the artifact, he asks if the guy didn't think it was really cool. Suddenly, he punches the guy in the stomach with his artifact. Smiling, he says he ruined everything and tells the guy to go buy food. Motionless, the guy just stares at the floor after taking the hit. Watching from afar, the senior's friend notices the punch didn't hurt him. Suspicious, he realizes the guy is definitely hiding something from him. Seeing the guy's look, the senior asks what his problem is. Clenching his fist, the boy prepares to fight, but someone interrupts him. Standing in the hallway, Akane gets the attention of the group of students. Approaching them, she says she needs to talk to the guy, not the senior. Questioning her, the senior reminds her that she also protected him earlier. Smiling, he asks if she wants to protect this guy now too. Irritated, she says it's nothing like that, and she just needs to talk to him. Then she challenges him, asking if he's going to hit her because of it. Angry, the senior just grits his teeth, not knowing what to do. Annoyed, the senior calls his friend and the two leave the area. Elsewhere, she asks if the guy is okay after the fight. Making it clear she's not on his side, she stares at him in the hallway. She then reveals she wanted to apologize because it was her fault. Smiling, he says there's no need since he got involved on his own. The girl stares at him with a slight smile, seeming surprised by his answer. Talking on a balcony, she tells him her father fought on the front lines. With a sad look, she continues her story about the past. She explains that when she was little, he was defeated by a monster. With the family situation getting worse, her mother started dating around. After that, her mother changed completely, getting involved with several men. Leaning on the railing, she says she came to the school to escape. Smiling, she says she'd like to become a great warrior. She tells him the Class C people looked for her, knowing about her situation. Explaining that she refused, she is questioned about why she's telling him everything. She says it would be bad if he misunderstood the situation between them. Smiling, she says she figured he wouldn't go around gossiping. He just watches her with a smile without saying a single word. Later, he comments that the Class C guys have been quiet since earlier. Warning him to stay alert, she says they mess with everyone in the school. Saying goodbye, she asks him to call her by her name, not just you. With a smile on his face, he just watches her walk away. Walking down the hallway, the senior complains they were interrupted at the best part. Clenching his fists, he says they need to put that guy in his place. His friend then suggests calling him to the bathroom so they won't be interrupted. Looking out the window, he sees Kaori with the Class C group. Confused, he remembers they were fighting with Akane earlier. Saying he forgot his wallet, he tells the senior to go on ahead. Not understanding, the senior just watches his friend run away. Hiding, he observes Kaori talking to the leader of the Class C group. Watching, he wonders if Kaori is asking them to leave Akane alone. Irritated, the group leader questions why she can't do what was agreed upon. Angry, she says they're the ones who are going to get scolded by the senior. The bully then complains that Akane keeps refusing to accept the proposal. Surprised, Kaori asks why Akane would refuse to do something like that. From afar, the boy yells, asking if she wasn't the one selling her out. Saying she's in Class E now, he suggests she give up. Smiling, Kaori says she introduced someone who could help her friend. Confused, the bully questions what she's talking about. Saying she's just trying to help, she uses her artifact to influence him. Holding the sphere, she explains that her artifact only makes people obedient. With an evil smile, she asks if he understood what she said. Totally confused, the bully just agrees with everything she's saying. At that point, one of the group members yells at her to stop using the power. She then explains that some monsters are immune to this type of power. He asks if she's going to use her power this time, and she confirms. Even though he reminds her that she failed before, he hears her guarantee she'll succeed. Changing scenes, a man tells another to shut up, visibly irritated. She then instructs them to meet her after class the next day. Realizing the gravity of it, he understands he just overheard something very important. Not knowing what to do, he fears he can't stop the group alone. He even thinks about asking for help, but he knows his friend wouldn't be able to handle it. But then he remembers the fight where the group was easily defeated. Then, an idea emerges, and he remembers the guy who faced them earlier. With a little hope, he believes maybe that guy can help. Sitting in the classroom, Akane silently reflects on her past. A sad look crosses her face as she remembers how she used to see her father as a hero. In the flashback, he tells her he's no hero, but she insists he's strong. He explains that real heroes fight without regard for themselves. He claims that as long as he can protect his family, that's enough for him. With a smile, he says that people with strong convictions are powerful. But then, monsters attacked the city, leaving buildings in flames. Gravely injured, her father was rushed to the hospital. In the elevator, her mother hugged her tightly, trying to comfort her. The doctor eventually told them his life wasn't in immediate danger anymore. After that day, she visited her father at the hospital regularly. Looking out the window, she remembers the hard days she spent there. One day, she saw her mother arriving at the hospital room, smoking. Akane asked her to put it out, staring at her mother seriously. Her mother asked if her father hadn't woken up again that day. Trying to protect him, Akane asked her mother to stop yelling at him. Angry, her mother said the hospital bills were too high to ignore. Then she warned Akane that she would have to start working soon. Saying nothing, Akane just watched her mother leave the hospital room. Gripping her skirt, she convinced herself there was a way to cure him. It's revealed the cure comes from the heart of a rare, shining basilisk. Because it's so rare, she'll have to obtain the item herself. To do that, she needs to get into Valkyria Warrior Academy first. Guidebook in hand, she filled herself with determination for her goal. Back in the present, she wonders what the hell she's doing with her life. She remembers almost giving up on everything when she was placed in Class E, but now, she wonders if pushing her limits can make her like him. Just then, Kaori arrives in the room and calls her name. Without Akane noticing, Kaori hides her artifact behind her back as she approaches. With a strange smile, she asks to speak with Akane for a second. Walking down the hall, the guy is watched from afar by the veteran's friend. Hiding, the observer panics. Class is over and he needs to talk, but he hesitates, convincing himself it's none of his business. Suddenly, the guy appears right in front of him, asking if he needs something. Embarrassed, he tries to play it cool, but he's told Takayuki isn't there. Nervous, he realizes this is his only chance to talk to him, but guilt washes over him. How can he ask for help after everything? Speechless, he watches the guy say goodbye and walk away. Standing in the hallway, he still can't manage to say what he really wanted. Looking down, he sees Akane and Kaori leaving the building together. Seeing her expression, he feels like something is wrong with the girl. But again, he convinces himself he has nothing to do with it. Annoyed with himself, he runs after the guy to ask for help. Without looking back, the guy just keeps walking silently down the hall. Scene change. The group gathers in an abandoned warehouse for the meeting. With a woman beside him, the boss questions his subordinates. Fearful, the group leader confirms, but is questioned about potential failures. Saying Kaori is with them, he guarantees there will be no problems. Smiling, the boss comments that they must trust him a lot. Seeing the door open, the group prepares to receive the girls. Bringing Akane in, Kaori says it's an honor to have his trust. Arriving on site, she apologizes to the veteran for her attitude. Questioned about the artifact, she says things didn't go as planned. Introducing Akane, the woman asks if she isn't too young for this. Mocking her, the boss asks if she plans to keep the girl for herself. With a malicious smile, he says he'll have his fun and then pass her around. Calling the moment perfect, Kaori reminds Akane that she needs money. With a sad look, she confirms she needs money for her father. Mocking the situation, the boss says her artifact is scary. Dismissing it, he just stares at the group with a serious look. Then, the boss warns the group that they are being followed by someone. Desperate, the observer realizes he's been discovered and can't face them. Seeing no way out, he thinks about running to escape the danger. But suddenly, Kaori appears in front of him, calling him by name. With her artifact, she says he is weak and poses no danger. Using her power, she convinces him that he wanted to join the group. Smiling, she insists he said it, showing his reflection in the sphere. Unresponsive, he just stares at her with a completely empty, lost look. Under the power's effect, he agrees with everything she's saying. The boss then suggests making him an accomplice to avoid future problems. Obeying orders, Kaori tells him to help take off Akane's clothes. With a camera, he prepares to start recording the whole scene. Unable to move, Akane just watches, having no control over her own body. With his sense of justice, he remembers all the bullies he's faced, but now he finds himself on the side of the villains, powerless to do anything. Touching her, he thinks it's easier not to resist the order. Then, he remembers that person who always got beaten up by the other bullies. The memory returns that he always fought back, no matter the situation. Suddenly, someone appears and lands a powerful blow on the boy's face. The force of the punch throws the boy hard onto the ground. Completely confused, he barely understands what just happened in the warehouse. Holding her artifact, Kaori realizes he was also there the whole time. Akane turns toward him too, seeming to slowly emerge from her trance. In the reflection of her eye, his image appears sharply. Standing against the light, he prepares to face the group of aggressors. With a weak voice, she manages to call his name with difficulty. Then he faces everyone there with a determined look, ready for the fight. Clutching her artifact, Kaori demands to know why he's here right now. Seeing the boy, Akane calls out his name, taken aback. Kaori dismisses him, saying he's just the weakest loser from Class E. The gang leader questions what someone like him is even doing here. Smiling, Kaori asks if he wants to join in on the fun too. He just asks for permission to ask one question first. Staring down Kaori, he asks if she and Akane aren't supposed to be real friends. Then he questions if she knows about her friend's family troubles. Smiling, she says she brought him into this because she knows him so well. Sprawled on the ground, the boy just watches the conversation unfold. Pointing a finger, he shouts that Akane didn't want this, but Kaori used her artifact on her. Annoyed, she realizes the previous hit snapped him back to reality. Looking at the boy, she wonders if the artifact will work on him now. Kneeling on the ground, the boy asks why he even came here. With a serious gaze, he notes that the boy was about to ask for help. Still on the ground, the boy says he would have listened if it had been Takayuki asking. At that, the gang of bullies bursts into laughter at the boy standing before them, mocking him. The leader asks why he's trying to play hero all of a sudden. He grabs his own artifact, warning that this will be the last time. Yelling that there won't be a third chance, the bully fires his attack with full force. Seeing the attack approach, he remains motionless, just staring down the incoming blast. With a swift movement, he simply blocks the attack using only one hand. Upon impact, the attack dissipates, causing him 0 damage. Witnessing the scene, everyone in the warehouse is completely shocked by what just happened. Confused, the bully just stares at his artifact as smoke trails from the tip. He tries to claim it was luck, but the boss calls him an idiot. Confused, Kaori wonders what kind of relic he possesses. Suspicious, the boss says he's definitely hiding something from them. Holding her artifact, Kaori wonders why her power isn't working on him. She uses her power again, but he doesn't seem affected at all. Suddenly, a system window appears, revealing a passive mental resistance ability. Suddenly, the bully with the gauntlet charges, trying to strike him from above. With a jump, he dodges the attack and it slams into the ground with force. Stuck on the ground, the bully realizes his attack pattern was red. Confused, he just asks why the boy is doing all of this. Clenching his fist, the boy replies that a relic isn't merely a tool. He shouts that it exists to protect people from monsters. Smiling, the boss just watches the situation with calm mockery. Then he starts laughing out loud, saying the boy must be joking. Shocked, the boy doesn't understand why he's laughing like that. The boss asks him why he doesn't understand how the real world works. He explains that most people can't make a living using just their sacred relics. Smiling, he says it would be a waste not to use them to make money. At that, the boy activates his suit, demanding to know what he means. Watching him, Akane wonders if it's right to attack hardworking people. With a confident smile, the boss replies that of course it is. He states he doesn't care who gets sacrificed as long as it isn't him. With a malicious look, he claims he'd even sell out friends for money. Tears in her eyes, Akane just listens as the boss calls that a wise decision. The boss shouts that working hard with no guarantees is for fools. Filled with rage, the boy glares at the boss, ready to start fighting. Charging forward, he rushes the boss to launch an attack, but his strike is easily stopped by the gauntlet bully's relic. Smiling, the bully says it's a shame the attack failed. Mocking him, The boss asks if that's all he can do. Then he says he'll explain why the boy is treated like prey. With an evil smile, he states it's simply because he is weak. Furious, he clenches his fist, ready to keep fighting them. He advances, unleashing a flurry of blows against the gauntlet artifact. As he attacks, he remembers everyone who belittled him for being weak. He thinks about how there are many like him and Akane suffering injustice. Filled with rage, he shouts at them not to make him laugh with that excuse. Suddenly, a system window appears, warning that his rage has triggered a reaction. Abruptly, the gauntlet starts to crack, catching the bully by surprise. With a spin, he rips the gauntlet right off his opponent's arm. Without his relic, the bully falls to the ground, completely defenseless and terrified. With a serious look, the protagonist questions if being weak is really so bad. Then he warns that he's going to turn that very statement against all of them. With tears in his eyes, he promises he will become strong enough to finish them off. Suit activated, Hinata steps in front of Hagani and the others. Hagan asks how his suit managed to change like that. Seeing a fallen comrade, the veteran wonders if that's how the relic works. Kaori just watches from afar, focused on the action. Charging in, Hinata speeds toward his opponent. He lands a powerful, direct hit on the veteran's face. The veteran stumbles back from the impact but quickly recovers. Then he counters with a massive strike, yelling as he attacks. A female colleague calls out to the veteran, turning his head for a second. He wonders how Hinata gets stronger even when cornered. Looking at his wrist, he questions if what he's seeing makes sense. Then he warns Hinata not to get cocky over a small advantage. He mentions he left, but he originally belonged to the famous Class B. Stating their skills are different, he focuses energy into his hand. He unleashes the prepared attack straight at Hinata. Defending with his legs, Hinata manages to stop the veteran's assault. He says that under normal circumstances, his hand would have broken there. Noticing his movements have improved, he wonders what's happening, but he insists that despite everything, Hinata lacks experience. Changing tactics, he fires a new projectile at his opponent. Hitting Hinata's body, the attack binds and completely immobilizes him. Smiling, he starts talking about containment ability users. Shouting that he should have thought of this, the binding tightens further. He asks if it doesn't feel like Hinata was hit by metal. Explaining his relic, he says it was made for combat. Creating a new attack, he warns Hinata that he picked the wrong opponent. Then, he launches the attack against the still immobilized Hinata. The projectile hits the mark perfectly, causing a massive impact. Looking back, he asks if she finally came to her senses. Suddenly, Yakumo Akane appears, calling him a fool for trying to control her. Laughing, Yakumo Akane says he accidentally helped her regain her senses. Watching the scene, Kaori just observes the two with a look of disdain. Decided, Kaori throws her own relic toward Yakumo Akane. Then, Yakumo Akane's weapon fires a high-speed projectile. Blocking the shot, Kaori's sphere stops the attack from hitting her. Confused, Yakumo Akane asks why Kaori did that to her. Smiling, Kaori says it's obvious. It's to make money. Stunned, Yakumo Akane stares at Kaori, surprised by what she just heard. Then she asks what's wrong with that look on her face. Shouting, she says Yakumo uses useless trash and should be grateful. Laughing, Kaori stares at Yakumo Akane, who remains rooted to the spot. Filled with rage, Yakumo Akane tightly grips the handle of her relic. Unexpectedly, an attack hits her back, slamming her hard onto the ground. Appearing suddenly, the male colleague says this is what happens to the rebellious Class E. Now Hinata remains trapped, while Yakumo Akane lies on the ground. Declaring it over, the veteran looks down at the defeated Hinata and Yakumo Akane. Warning him not to worry, he says he'll brainwash him later. He comments that if Kaori hadn't been there, things would have been much worse. Lying on the ground, Yakumo Akane can only manage to call out Hinata's name. Saying she's frustrated, she laments not being able to get revenge and feels useless. Starting to cry, she screams that she still needs to keep trying to fight. Then she promises to work hard to become much stronger. Getting up with her weapon, she faces the enemies and prepares to act. With all her strength, she aims the weapon and fires a precise shot. Hitting the veteran square in the face, the shot catches him by surprise. With the impact, the containment holding Hinata simply completely dissolves. Now angry, the veteran glares at Yakumo Akane, who hit him by surprise. Smiling, she asks Hinata if she can count on him now. Giving a slight smile, he shows he accepted her request for help. Facing the veteran, he tells her to leave the rest to him. Asking if he's stupid, the veteran says he can trap him again. The binding starts wrapping around Hinata's body once more. He then says, Now is time for his great revenge. With a single movement, he manages to break the containment holding him. Surprised, the veteran can only wonder what just happened. Then Hinata says he was listening to him trash talk Class E. Not understanding, the veteran wonders what's happening to his ability. Questioning if that's the best he can do, he lands a direct hit to the temple. Feeling something is wrong, he tries to understand what's happening there. On the ground, his ability stops working, and he doesn't understand why. Suddenly, Hinata appears right in front of his opponent, ready to attack. He warns that he'll show him the power of trash, preparing his fist. Desperate, the veteran screams for Hinata to stop immediately. Without hesitating, Hinata lands a powerful blow right on the veteran's face. With a final blow, Hinata launches the senior backward, ending the confrontation right there. From a distance, Kaori watches the entire scene, her expression one of utter surprise. Giving no time to react, Hinata continues his assault on the fallen opponent. In the background, one of the classmates screams Hinata's name, trying to stop him. Halting his attack, he simply stares down at the senior on the ground. Watching the scene unfold, another classmate tells the veteran to quit playing around. Annoyed by the situation, this new opponent points his own relic straight at Hinata. Sensing the imminent attack, Hinata turns toward the new threat. With a single strike, he deflects the oncoming projectile. Stunned, the classmate wonders if what he just witnessed was mere coincidence. Suddenly appearing right in front of him, Hinata grabs his collar before he can react. He lifts him into the air, warning him never to mess with them again. He adds that he doesn't have time to deal with people like him. Tightening his grip, he stares him down as the classmate tries to speak. Choking out the words, the classmate says he got the message and begs him to stop. Hinata releases him, letting him drop to his knees. With both opponents defeated, he turns to face Kaori, who is watching him. They turn their backs to each other, remaining silent. Elsewhere, Yakumo Akane bows to Hagane in gratitude. A memory flashes back, a man telling her that determined people are strong. Back in the present, Akane looks at Hinata with a smile. Celebrating the victory, she walks over and high-fives him. Hidden from view, a woman watches the scene while on the phone. Noting the unexpected outcome, she asks the person on the other end what their next move is. The scene shifts to the principal's office, where the director sits at his desk, waiting. Watching a recording of the fight, he declares that people like that aren't needed at the school. He then adds that they discovered something surprising while investigating the students. Back with the group, Hinata mentions he's looking forward to the next exam. The location shifts to a large modern building nestled in nature. In the hallway, a group of students gathers around a bulletin board. A notice is pinned up, listing the names of 4 students expelled from the school. When questioned, Yakumo Akane denies being the one who reported them. Nearby, a classmate comments that, aside from Kaori, the others had terrible reputations anyway. Takayuki arrives and asks what all the fuss is about. Calling it boring, he invites his friend to the cafeteria. Hagane agrees and follows him, while Hinata and Akane walk off in the other direction. Akane suggests that Hinata should just talk to their friend. She mentions that when she thanked him, he just claimed he didn't do anything and walked away. Hearing this, Hinata simply replies that he understands the whole situation now. As he starts walking away, Akane asks where he's going. He says he's heading to the store, only to see Akane running to catch up with him. He asks why she's following him if she brought her own lunch. Shouting, she asks if they can't just eat together right there. Taken aback by the sudden invitation, Hinata stammers a bit but eventually agrees. The scene shifts to the two of them eating lunch together on a courtyard bench. Surprised, Akane asks about a relic that adds new traits to the user. He questions if he wasn't supposed to develop traits, wondering if he lacked the ability. She suggests it might just be a weak trait, but he immediately denies it. Explaining the situation, he admits he hadn't checked the suit's update list. He comments that the new suit seems to focus entirely on attack power. He realizes the updates are triggered by emotions and that the suit will continue to evolve. Clenching his fist tightly, he asserts that he can still become much stronger. Closing her lunchbox, Yakumo Akane seriously calls his name. Standing up from the bench, she asks directly if he will let her train with him. She admits she might not get strong immediately, but she wants to surpass that guy. Looking down at the ground, Hinata replies that he knows she's been working hard. She stares at him, clearly surprised by his answer. He explains that physical abilities are naturally enhanced by a relic. He then reminds her that she sustained very few injuries after being hit by that attack. He concludes that this is the greatest proof of her hard work. Flustered by the praise, Akane stares at him for a moment. Saying she needs to keep pushing herself anyway, she quickly pulls herself together. Extending her hand, she promises to get even stronger from now on. Taking a step forward, she prepares to finish her thought. With a big smile, she thanks him for his help yesterday. Hearing her gratitude, Hinata looks at her with a slight smile. Accepting the handshake, he tells her that he agrees to her request. As they talk, Another student watches the scene from a rooftop, arms crossed. She comments that the weaklings seem to be enjoying themselves. The scene shifts to a hallway, where she asks another girl if she's thought about the offer. Surrounded by her group, she says it would be good to have her on their team. The blonde girl coldly replies that she'll pass on the offer, saying she understands. The first girl tells her to seek her out if she changes her mind later. After the conversation, the group turns and leaves the hallway. Because they hung out with the expelled students, that trio ended up with a terrible reputation. She wonders if reputation doesn't matter to Shizuku, as long as they are strong. From a distance, she watches Hinata and Akane sitting together on the courtyard bench. Smiling, Akane offers some of her food to Hinata. Meanwhile, Shizuku walks away, considered a somewhat risky choice. Yelling at them to train hard, the teacher kicks off PE class. Takashima Gonzo explains the rules. He says abilities improve alongside physical strength. In the gym, he warns Class E that they're falling behind, but they still have a shot. He tells them this is their chance. Time to prove their placement in this class was a mistake. He looks right at Hinata, encouraging him to show what he's truly capable of. Wiping off sweat, Takayuki silently watches the intense training. Back in the classroom, the teacher announces a re-evaluation test is coming up. He warns them, if they turn things around now, escaping Class E will be impossible. He urges them not to give up. He insists that artifact rank isn't everything. He explains that physical skills and judgment will also be evaluated. Dead serious, he states that teamwork is crucial this year. Takayuki asks about this teamwork and how the teams will be divided. Writing on the board, the teacher informs them each team needs 2 to 5 members. Then he tells the students they have to form teams on their own. Having finished his announcement, he silently waits for their reaction. Disgusted, Takayuki shouts that nobody wants to team up with Class E losers. Explaining the goal, the teacher reminds him this school trains warriors for the guilds. He adds that if Takayuki wants to escape this class, he'd better work hard. Angry, Takayuki says everything went wrong the moment he got stuck in Class E. He claims the root of the whole problem is standing right there. Out in the school hallway, students are walking and chatting normally. Yakumo Akane asks Hinata what he plans to do now. He replies that he's going to find members for the test, suggesting they need a solid lineup. Suddenly, Takayuki approaches their table, grabbing their attention. He asks what kind of idiot would team up with the weakest guy here. Akane asks why they came over, but Takayuki just gives a vague answer. Grabbing Hinata's tie, he says he thinks Hinata's been way too cocky lately. He demands that Hinata go buy his lunch, right now. Silent, Hinata just keeps staring at Takayuki, showing no reaction. Then Hinata responds. He tells him to go get his own lunch. Demanding to know what he just said, Takayuki glares at him furiously. He turns to Akane and asks if she's really going to join this loser. Hinata just watches the argument, remaining silent for a moment. She tells him Hinata is better than him, and that Takayuki doesn't know how to work. Irritated again, Takayuki asks what she just said to him. Putting Hagane on the spot, she asks if he doesn't think so too. Takayuki turns and glares at Hagane, waiting for an answer. Grabbing his classmate, he asks if he really thinks that way. Terrified, Hagane can only stutter an incomplete response. Denying it quickly, he yells that there's no way that's true. Trying to save his own skin, he announces he's joining Takayuki's team. Takayuki turns to the others and repeats what Hagane just said. Decision made, Takayuki stares down his new teammate. Akane closes her lunchbox. She suggests the two of them discuss the test alone. She calls for Hinata to go somewhere else, getting up from the table. He comments that it looks like they can't take Hagane with them anymore. Akane says it would be great if someone else joined the team. Suddenly, a voice asks if she would do for their team. Surprised, Akane replies, "Of course," noting her confidence. The new girl suggests they surprise everyone at the next evaluation test. Agreeing with the plan, Hinata turns away with a slight smile. From a distance, Kaori watches Hinata confirm that the plan is set. With the new team finally formed, he looks at his newest ally. Turning toward the hallway, she also seems satisfied with the new arrangement. Walking away, Hinata feels that the atmosphere is totally different now. Watching him leave, Kaori seems to think he might be interesting. Back in the classroom, a shout of anger echoes through the empty space. Takayuki kicks a desk and yells, while Hagane begs him to calm down. After his fit of rage, he takes a deep breath for a moment. Turning around, he calls Hagane's name in a serious tone. Questioning his teammate, Hagane asks about the serious accidents in past tests. Smirking, Takayuki confirms his classmate's suspicion. He explains that the test takes place inside a portal, so accidents happen. Revealing the truth, he says the accidents actually seem to be created on purpose. Unable to react, Hagane just stares at Takayuki after hearing that. Tapping his fingers on the desk, Takayuki wonders if it will happen again. With a serious look, he remains silent, dwelling on the word accident. Scene change. Someone types away on a computer in the dead of night. An online chat begins. discussing the upcoming Valkyrie reevaluation exam. Someone asks if the guy who caused the accident is still in school. Another user explains they know from an unofficial list. Spilling the beans, they reveal the illegal betting ring surrounding the exam. When asked for favorites, Shizuku and Sachi are named. The list is shown. Hinata is dead last in the betting odds. Meanwhile, in the forest, Hinata trains alone with his suit for the reevaluation. Panting, he stops for a moment to catch his breath. Suddenly, a massive creature looms behind him, roaring and poised to strike. He spins around, ready to face the emerging threat. He charges, landing a powerful blow right to the monster's head. Monster defeated, Hinata stands still, surveying the aftermath. Analyzing his power, he notes it went exactly as expected. He concludes that just by using the new suit, he is already stronger. Checking the data, he sees the suit is a massive energy hog, draining his stamina. The screen confirms the penalty. Constant stamina drain. Understanding he needs to get stronger, he deactivates the Fury suit for now. Deciding to use his other suit, he is surprised by Yakumo Akane's arrival. Seeing he already defeated the monster, she explains her class ran late. She comments it's weird needing to study, but he reminds her they are students. She asks if he's ever taken remedial classes. He shakes his head no. When asked why, he throws the question back at her. He averts his gaze to the ground, silent for a moment. A brief flashback shows him studying with a girl in the library. Explaining his routine, he says he studies a little before sleeping. Excited to train, she summons her relic and gets ready. He reminds her that the reevaluation exam is getting closer. Looking over his shoulder, he notices strange movement in the forest. His expression shifts. He's on high alert. Acting fast, he shoves Akane aside out of harm's way. He scoops her up and jumps just as an attack blasts the ground where they stood. Landing safely, Hinata turns toward the attack. Confused, Akane demands to know what's happening. Then, someone slowly emerges from behind the trees. Appearing before them, she remarks that he's finally changed quite a bit. She comments that the old Hinata wouldn't have noticed that attack. Staring at the newcomer, he remains silent for an instant. He doesn't recognize her. He just asks who she is. From behind him, Akane says she knows who the mysterious girl is. She reveals the truth. It's Shirohane Sachi. She's just as strong as Shizuku. Hearing the comparison, he repeats Shizuku's name quietly. Sachi comments that lately Shizuku has been acting very strange. Smirking, she shifts into a combat stance. Declaring she's going to test him, she charges with her weapon. Taken by surprise, he raises his arm to defend. He catches the weapon forcefully, stopping the incoming blow. His relic reacts to the contact, unleashing some kind of dormant power. Repelling the attack, he throws Sachi backward with the force of the impact. She leaps into the air, readying another strike. She fires a large projectile toward Hinata on the ground. It hits the soil, causing a huge explosion in the clearing. Seeing the blast, Yakumo Akane screams her friend's name in desperation. Landing on the ground, Sachi spins her weapon, ready for a new attack. With a quick movement, he blocks the blow using only his forearm. Taking advantage of the opening, he throws small objects at his opponent. A slight smile appears. She seems impressed by his unexpected move. Wasting no time, she spins into a horizontal attack. He ducks quickly, letting the blow pass harmlessly overhead. She lowers her weapon, admitting he really has changed. Smiling, she notes how much he's grown, assuming he wasn't just hiding his skills before. Still panting, he asks directly what she really wants. Giving a slight smile, she just stares at him in silence for an instant. Explaining the situation, she says she prefers teaming up with someone interesting. Extending her hand, she says he seems entertaining. She asks if he wants to join her team. Without hesitation, he accepts the invitation. Hand still extended, she awaits confirmation of their agreement. She's surprised. She didn't expect him to accept so quickly. Confused, smiling, she asks if she heard wrong. Hinata refuses immediately. He won't team up with her. She gets up close, glaring with a closed expression. Indignant, he asks why she expects a team up after attacking him. Getting grades by using her would be meaningless. Sachi stands silently, listening. He says no one would recognize his skills if he allied with her now. The other students would hate him for using her. Fist clenched, he states he has reasons to join a guild. That's why he yells that he'll gain recognition with his own strength. After this declaration, they exchange a long, serious look. Hearing his answer, Sachi finally lets a small smile show. Turning her back, she calls him interesting. Glancing back, she says she'll wait for him. Under the moonlight, they watch Sachi walk away alone. Shaking him, Akane yells that refusing was a waste. Hinata explains Sachi showed zero interest in her. Understanding, Akane stops and thinks. He suggests they focus on getting good grades. Agreeing, she starts walking with him. Thoughtful, Hinata finally grasps the level of a Class A student. Her strength, tactics, and speed are exceptional. Remembering the fight, he realizes she was going easy on him. Concluding his reflection, he admits he still has a long way to go. After feeling strong, he decides to check his update list. Seeing the data, He realizes he needs to complete more items. Suddenly, a strange notification appears. On screen, a message states he has a guaranteed audience. Scene change. An enormous building is revealed as headquarters. At a Guild Alliance meeting, all leaders are present. The Minister of Defense reports that portal investigations continue. Sitting aside, Master Hagura Ginji just watches. Master Sherry Truman addresses those entering the portals. Shio Ogai asks directly if they've discovered anything new. Smiling, Hagura replies, they are completely in the dark. Shio claims they would have reported findings already, and Sherry agrees. Insinuating something, Hagura says perhaps they are hiding important information. Irritated, Sherry warns him not to lump her in with them, but Hagura provokes her, forcing the minister to call them to order. Cutting the discussion short, he asks Kuraha if anything was discovered recently. A bit hesitant, Guildmaster Heikain Kuraha reveals that portals are appearing more frequently. Everyone in the room reacts with surprise. Sherry says they can handle it, but Shio worries about the future. If they fail, a monster catastrophe could destroy everything again. Worried, the minister asks if a disaster of that magnitude will really happen. Kureha explains that stronger monsters are appearing in the portals. Facing the threat, he warns they need countermeasures ASAP. Hagura comments that they'll need talented individuals for that. Agreeing, the minister asks about successor training. The director of Valkyria School guarantees some talented students are emerging. Sherry considers the news promising upon hearing about a re-evaluation exam. Seeking details, Hagura asks if there are any students to keep an eye on. The director cites Manasa Shizuku and Shirahane Sachi as promising. He describes one manipulating vital energy and the other generating explosive energy. Interested, Shio comments that Shizuku would be useful for his guild. Then Hagura asks if anyone else is worth mentioning now. Focusing on the conversation, Hagura says it would be great to train defense successors. He finishes by explaining the vacancy they left behind still hasn't been filled. Smiling, Hagura asks the director about Asahi Hinata, the son of the former member. Sherry repeats the boy's name, surprised by the mention. Kureha remembers him as the naked kid, and Sherry as the one with the useless relic. Hearing he's still studying, Hagura says he doesn't understand why. Questioning if it's stubbornness, he hears from the director that it's something else. With a serious look, the director faces the guild master for a moment. He then begins to say that, to everyone's surprise, that boy might end up becoming the big highlight of the next exam. Exam day arrives. A reporter broadcasts the event to a massive crowd. Cameras show the main stage as she announces the start of the Valkyria School exam. She adds that the test will take place inside a D-rank portal. From high above, Guildmaster Sherry watches the festival bustle down below. Standing beside the director, she comments on how lively the event is this year. Down in the crowd, people enjoy the school festival atmosphere. The director notes that everyone needs a break from the constant bad news. He thanks her for providing security. She replies that training the next generation is simply her duty. Her gaze shifts, focusing on a specific boy walking through the crowd. Shizuku walks alongside a boy, holding her cane. The director asks how she knows. She just says she's grateful for them. To clarify, she explains that as a guild master, she can tell just by looking. With a faint smile, she watches the promising students from a distance. Nearby, another pair of students strolls through the festival, eating sweets. At a food stall, Sachi stocks up on plenty of snacks for herself. While walking, Hagura asks the director if there are any promising students to watch out for. Just then, Takahashi and Yakumo Akane walk together, looking incredibly confident. The D-rank portal leads to a location called the Twisted Garden. Inside the portal, a student trembles with fear as she faces the situation. Suddenly, a giant monster appears right in front of her and lets out a loud roar. Unable to react, the girl lets out a scream of pure panic. In the blink of an eye, someone appears and kicks the monster away. An agent says it's a shame, but their exam ends right here. Extending his hand to the girl, he guides her toward the portal exit. On the big screens, the broadcast shows the rescue, and the crowd reacts with euphoria. The Del Doris Guild then announces that the area is fully secured. To ensure safety, surveillance drones fly over the exam site. After showing the rescue, the broadcast refocuses on the rules. To pass, students must accumulate evaluation points inside. By collecting magic stones from monsters, students earn their first exam points. Additionally, items like ores or plants also grant evaluation points. Since teamwork is a criterion, students need to fight together. Seeing a friend in danger, an archer prepares to fire at the monster. Working together, The duo defeats the enemy and appears on the big screens. With a 60-minute time limit, the reporter asks who will stand out. In the crowd, the camera focuses on Takahashi and Akane waiting. She tells him that the atmosphere of the event is pretty unpleasant. According to her, the students take it seriously, while the public treats it like a show. Turning to him, she asks if he isn't irritated by the situation. He simply replies that he can't get irritated by it all. Then Takayuki approaches and says he's the center of attention. Confused, Takahashi asks what he means by center of attention. Takayuki then asks if he doesn't know the exam is blowing up online. Pointing at him, Takayuki says that the cosplayer is the trending topic right now. Provoking him, Takayuki asks if he's going to put on some kind of show. With a serious look, Takahashi stares at his rival, showing no reaction. He then asks if Takayuki came all the way over just to say that. Putting a hand on his shoulder, Takayuki tells him not to get tense. Hugging his colleague, he says they shouldn't fight on such an important day. From afar, Hagan observes the entire interaction between the rival students. Takahashi doesn't reply, just continuing to stare at the situation in total silence. Right after, an announcement warns that the second group's exam is about to start. Wishing him luck, Takayuki says goodbye and leaves with his friends. Hagani gives a faint smile as he watches them from a distance. Passing them, the boy lets out a laugh and keeps moving. Confused, Akane says she can't understand what's up with Hagane. On stage, Professor Takashima Gonzo asks if everyone is ready for the test. Shouting to the students, he warns that this is a life-or-death exam. Showing a device, he instructs them to use it in an emergency. Sherry then announces that the Deldoris Guild will handle rescuing if necessary. With a smile, the professor confirms everything is ready to start. Giving the signal, he yells that the exam has begun, and everyone takes off. At the front of the pack, Sachi and Kaori run to secure the lead. Right behind them, Takayuki's team also advances with total determination. Not wanting to be left behind, Hinata also starts running at high speed. Running with Akane, he stays focused on the path ahead. She continues advancing, never averting her gaze from her main objective. Suddenly, he stops, realizing something huge is approaching. Right in front of them, a giant monster appears and blocks the path. The creature lets out a roar that echoes through the entire area. The monster clenches its fist, preparing for a direct attack. With a single movement, it smashes the ground with force, kicking up dust. Amidst the smoke, the creature glares at the two of them menacingly. But an unexpected blow hits the monster squarely, knocking it far away. Thrown backward, the giant's body flies several meters. Revealing his new suit, Hinata appears ready for the upcoming battle. Cutting to the office, Kagura Ginji watches the fight on his tablet. Looking bored, he keeps tracking the event from afar. Suddenly, something on screen catches his eye, surprising him greatly. As the scene hits the big screen, the audience reacts with astonishment at seeing Hinata. Pointing at the screen, students comment on what's happening. They recognize the Class E student causing all that commotion. Seeing the situation, Sherry lets out a little laugh, looking very interested. Talking to the director, she says she's never seen a relic change form before. He then recalls that everyone thought of him as the useless armor guy. Sherry comments that he usually doesn't pity those without talent. According to him, no one without potential could get into even Class E. That's why she agrees it's natural to think he is special. Smiling, he asks if she thinks the boy will be expelled. Back to the fight. Hinata steps on the defeated monster's hand. He then readies himself for the next challenge crossing his path. Concentrating energy in his fist, he prepares for the incoming combat. Facing the giant monster, Hinata stares down the creature without showing any fear. With a furious roar, the monster charges at him with full force, but an unexpected attack hits the creature's face, taking it by surprise. Seeing the opening, Akane fires her weapon multiple times against the enormous enemy. Despite the shots, the monster remains standing, taking little apparent damage. She shouts to Hinata, asking if it's still not the right time. Jumping high, he calls down that it's already enough. Surprised by the action, the monster looks up and sees the boy. Using his fist of fury, he comes down hard right on top of the creature. After the final blow, the monster disappears, and Hinata lands on the ground. A magic stone appears where the enemy was, and he approaches to grab it. Before the suit changes, he realizes he needs to grab the item quickly. Saying he needs to use his other hand, he finally picks up the magic stone. Then he tosses the item to Akane, thanking her for the great assistance in the fight. Praising the boy, she says his hit was also very good. With a slight smile on his face, he looks at her after the battle. Hidden among the trees, Takayuki watches the duo with an irritated expression. Celebrating the victory, she says the training is finally paying off. He then remembers how his Fist of Fury technique works. This ability can release all accumulated power at once. Having come this far, he knows he can't use the suit all the time. Suddenly, she yells a warning that a monster is coming from behind. The creature advances at high speed to attack with its stinger. But Akane defeats the insect, letting him know she handled the problem there. Looking at him, she asks with a smile if she isn't really good. He agrees, realizing how she can cover all his weaknesses now. After training hard, her power and shooting rhythm have increased. Above all, another ability of hers seems to have improved significantly. Pointing ahead, she warns about enemies coming from that direction. Running toward them, a group of 3 hobgoblins suddenly appears. Yelling that there are 3 monsters, Akane warns him, and he acknowledges the message. Darting forward, Hinata advances alone against the group of enemies there. Meanwhile, Akane shoots at the monsters trying to attack his back. With the shots, she takes down the 2 hobgoblins in the rear. Seeing only one left, the monster charges at Hinata with a club. He stops the attack, catching the monster's weapon with his fist. With a single strike, he punches right through the creature's face. Launching the hobgoblin away, he finishes the fight at once. After the battle, he finds the magic stone the monster left behind. Picking up the item, he says he'll be able to pass the test easily now. Celebrating the victory, Akane shouts that they did it again and makes a sign. Fist clenched, he realizes that at this pace, they will achieve their goal. He adds that the school will have to reevaluate both of them. Changing scenes, Takayuki observes his group of friends, totally exhausted and standing still. Worried, Hagane approaches Takayuki and asks about the result. Leaning against the tree, Takayuki shows complete frustration with what happened. With a hateful expression, he grinds his teeth in pure rage. Then he screams out loud and hits the tree with a powerful blow. As he keeps punching, his friends ask him to try and calm down. Indignant, he wonders how that trash managed to defeat a monster like that. Questioning if it was because of Akane, he realizes that wasn't it. He screams again, taking out all his enormous frustration on the tree. Furious, he realizes his rival was just going easy on him. After taking a deep breath, he announces a change of plans. He turns to Hagan, saying they will follow the original plan. Grabbing the boy, Takayuki lifts him by the collar with great force. Threateningly, he repeats the order and forces the boy to agree. He then pushes his teammate, who falls to the ground, frightened. Silently, Hagan holds the device, not knowing exactly what to do now. Squinting his eyes, Hagan prepares to follow Takayuki's orders. Inside the device, 2 different liquids begin to mix slowly. Following the order, he aims the item while the others watch their leader. With a serious look, he reveals that he planned to make them give up with the ogre. Smiling, he warns that he has no other choice but to act. Summoning the creature, he says he's sending the portal chief now. In a flashback, he remembers always admiring heroes since he was a kid. Back then, he'd watch news about the guilds with so much excitement. That's why he dreamed that one day, he'd be fighting right alongside them. But he says that big dream ended up falling apart real fast. It all happened because of the relic he received, the steal factor. His only ability was extracting essence from beings to create potions. With no offensive power, he couldn't do a thing against monsters on his own. Because of that, his relic was ranked as E-class. As a result, he ended up in the worst class in the entire school. To move up a class, he needed a partner with attack power, so he used that excuse to try and get close to Takayuki in class. Even feeling guilty, he watched his classmate mistreat other students, but at the same time, he just observed the situation from far away. He remembers that deep down, he felt relieved not to be the target. That's why he ended up joining the group, to keep himself protected from him. Remembering the past, he realizes there are beings worse than himself. But with a determined look, he decides he's going to change that situation. Watching Hinata on the big screen, Hagane notices the boy has gotten much stronger. He even made those who despised him kneel before him. While he was degrading himself, Hinata kept striving to improve every single day. With a clenched fist, he feels anger seeing Hinata's success. Totally confused, he doesn't know how to react to that impactful scene. Then he remembers when Takayuki poured the crafted potion onto his hand. With an evil smile, Takayuki prepares to use it against someone. Then, he approaches and puts his hand on Takahashi's shoulder there. Even knowing he shouldn't, he ends up doing what Takayuki always orders. Using a special glove, he extends his hand toward a drone. Right near him, the surveillance drone keeps hovering over the exam area. Then, Takayuki orders everyone to get ready, because they are about to act. Leaving the rest to him, Takayuki steps away and watches from afar. Telling him to aim well, Takayuki orders him to hit the dungeon boss. With that, Hagane fires the projectile with the device on his left hand. The shot flies at high speed toward the creature's neck. Hitting dead on, the potion's substance spreads over its body. Roaring in fury, the monster reacts immediately to the attack it just suffered. Takayuki then praises the boy, saying the potion works pretty fast. Smiling, he reveals the item's name is Berserk Pheromone. He explains that the struck monster will attack the target marked by the potion. Surprised, Takayuki comments that he didn't expect it to work on the dungeon boss. He then scolds him for being too talkative for someone who shot the arrow. Not knowing what to say, Hagan keeps holding the device, totally paralyzed. With a smile, Takayuki says he's a completely hopeless case. Turning his back, he warns the group that they are leaving now. Scared, Hagani asks if he's really going to be abandoned there alone with the monster. Holding a vial, Takayuki confirms with a smile that, of course, he is. Without hesitating, Takayuki throws the water from his bottle onto the boy's face. Then he explains that they need to destroy any and all evidence of the plan. With nowhere to run, the creature advances and attacks him directly. Fallen on the ground, he screams, not understanding the reason for all of this happening. From afar, Takayuki warns that the dungeon boss is going to be investigated now. With that, Hagane realizes the plan is to pin all the blame solely on him. With a cold look, Takayuki calls him to give one last important warning. Alerting that he'll die if he doesn't flee, he sees Hagane start to run. Trying to call the guild, he searches for the emergency device in his pocket. Desperate, he realizes the device is gone and remembers Takayuki earlier. In that moment, he understands everything was planned from the start by his classmate. Running for his life, he has no time to mask the scent of the potion. He grabs one last vial in his pocket, thinking about using it there. Laughing at himself, he keeps running while accepting his final fate. Seeing the monster's paw coming down, he says he's a lost cause. After defeating the monsters, another magic stone is left behind. Holding the item, Hinata comments that he's already managed to gather a good amount. Celebrating, Akane says that at this pace, she'll be able to reach D-class. He then agrees with his partner, clenching his fist with a smile. Standing in the forest, they feel a strange movement right after. Suddenly, a liquid hits Hinata full on, taking both by surprise. Worried, she runs over and asks if he's okay after what happened. Looking at the substance, he wonders what that liquid is. Then, Hagane falls from the sky, and Akane yells his name, scared. Fallen on the ground, he warns that Hinata won't be attacked anymore for now. Seeing the situation, Akane yells for Hinata not to get close no matter what. Kneeling in front of the monster, Hagan says he's going to stop the creature right there. Without hesitating, Hinata runs at high speed toward the imminent danger. Arriving just in time, he intercepts the attack and saves Hagan from the creature. Holding the monster's paw, he stares down the creature with great determination. Thrown backward, he falls to the ground from the impact of the blow. Kneeling beside him, Hinata asks if Hagan is still alive. Asking why he did that, he hears that nothing is decided yet. Standing tall, Hinata says he doesn't know how to give up on a fight. Watching on the big screen, the crowd wonders if it's too dangerous. Sherry orders an immediate rescue. She warns them it's a C2 rank monster. The director states with certainty, this was deliberate sabotage. She explains that portal bosses usually never leave the core area. If the core were destroyed, the entire portal would collapse. Hand over his face, he admits it's the first time he's seen anything like this. He reflects that the culprit was likely manipulated by someone else too. Out of options, he wonders if their only hope lies with Hinata now. Ignoring everything, the creature lets out a deafening roar right at Hinata. From a distance, Akane watches, looking absolutely terrified. Screaming wildly, she warns that it's far too dangerous for Hinata. Facing the pair, the monster roars again and prepares to strike. Hinata shoves Hagan's head down to shield him. Then he throws Hagan aside, getting him out of the monster's path. Yelling at the creature to stay back, he steps in front to protect Hagan. Lying on the ground, Hagan watches the fight about to begin. Still reeling, Hinata realizes the impact of the last attack hasn't faded. Facing the beast, he understands the massive power gap. Even so, he charges his fist with energy to keep fighting. He rushes the monster with everything he has. Dodging a massive paw, he slides underneath and preps a counterattack. Fist charged, he screams as he readies his strongest strike. He lands a direct hit, forcing the monster back with the impact. But the creature seems completely unharmed by his blow. Smiling, the monster stares at the boy, showing it isn't hurt. Wasting no time, the creature's tail whips forward in a sudden attack. It connects, sending him stumbling back several meters. Before he can react, one of the creature's teeth fires like a projectile. Crying out in pain, Akane watches him get slammed against a tree. Running to him, she desperately asks if he's okay. Surprised by the attack, he freezes for a moment. Yelling at her to stay back, he pushes her out of danger. The creature hits him with a tail swipe, throwing him far. Launched by the powerful blow, his body flies uncontrollably through the air. He finally hits the ground and rolls for several meters. Badly hurt, he trembles, struggling to stand up. Confused, Hagan asks why he keeps trying to get up. In total shock, he can't believe what he just saw. Screaming in desperation, Akane warns them to run. They can't win. Battered and bruised, he finally understands they can't win this fight. He says that if he uses vengeance, maybe he can deal some damage, but he doubts he can defeat the monster alone like this. Standing up, Hagan screams for Hinata to stop immediately. Claiming it's his fault, he begs them to leave him and run. Not understanding his attitude, Akane just stares at him, frozen. Yelling, he draws the monster's attention and tells it to attack. The creature charges, attacking at high speed with its paws. Using momentum, Hinata jumps over the attacking monster. Landing, he uses the creature's head to push off again. He strikes the monster right in the eye. The creature glares at him, seeming to feel a little pain from the blow. Without hesitating, it grabs him with its mouth, trapping his entire body. Once it has him, it slams him onto the ground with full force. Down on the ground, Hagan screams, asking why he didn't run like he was told. Getting up, Hinata declares he won't run from this fight no matter what. Confused, Hagan asks why he won't just flee right now. He explains that the person he respected would never give up. Even with his life in danger, he never pretended not to see people in need. That's why Hinata says if he runs now, he won't be able to face himself. Turning to the monster, he says he wouldn't be able to face him again. Moved by those words, Hagan just watches his teammate's stance. Believing rescue is coming, he gets hit by the monster's tail. He realizes he just needs to hold on until help finally arrives. Unable to react, the creature's tail comes crashing down on him. Watching it all, Akane becomes totally desperate at the scene before her. Screaming his name, she sees the monster's tail crush the ground. Hidden away, Takayuki watches the creature turn and silently leave. With a sinister smile, he seems to celebrate the result of his plan. Soon after, the screen reveals a permission granted as a reward for the death condition. Suddenly, his mind is pulled into an unknown realm. He's floating alone in what looks like infinite sky. A voice speaks up, noting that he finally made it. A girl smiles, saying she thought it would take him longer. She reveals herself sitting on a throne, claiming she was waiting for her master. Confused, he asks where he is and who she is. He remembers the battle and asks how he got here when he was just in a portal. She appears right next to him. She tells him he's dead, or close to it. She explains that the only reason he's alive is because she summoned him. Shocked, he falls silent, trying to process the revelation. She tells him not to be so grumpy about it. She explains that this is a mental world she controls. Smiling, she calls it her domain. She points to his chest, revealing that this world is inside his suit. Surprised, he asks if this is inside the sacred relic. She creates a sphere with her hands to show him something. It shows his real body about to be hit in the outside world. She warns him that if he goes back fast, he might dodge it. He asks if this means she helped him escape. Smiling, he apologizes for doubting her and pats her head. She swats away his hand, warning him it's too soon to relax. She starts walking, saying she needs to tell him something important. She turns and warns him, if things keep going like this, he will die. He hears the warning in silence, gulping nervously. She explains she can only help this one time because she lacks strength. Offering a little aid, she beckons him closer. Without warning, she jams 2 fingers straight into his eyes. As he screams, she explains she just made a small adjustment to his eyes. She yells over his screams, insisting the opponent wasn't impossible to beat. Lying on the ground, he hears her criticize his fighting style as too rigid. She tells him he needs to clearly observe his opponent first. Still on the floor, he asks who she is and why she's inside the relic. She just smiles and watches him silently for a moment. Finally, she answers, she's just a nameless traitor. Confused, he asks what it means to be a traitor here. The world begins to crumble around them. She warns him their time is up. He tries to reach her, yelling for her to wait. He still has so many questions, but she says if he wants to know more, he needs to get stronger first. She looks right at him and asks if he isn't curious about the truth. She questions why weapons like the sacred relics were handed out, and she asks who was truly responsible for bringing war to the world. As he's pulled back to reality, he asks what she's talking about. Looking up, he tries once more to ask who was responsible. Saying goodbye, she tells him they'll meet again, addressing him as Asahi Hinata. Back in reality, he snaps his eyes open, completely shocked by the revelation. Seeing the massive explosion, Yakumo screams Hinata's name in utter despair. Lying on the ground, she just can't believe what just happened. Amidst the dust, something moves with impressive speed. Suddenly, she looks up, her face filled with total surprise. Leaping from the smoke, Hinata appears on his feet, much to his friend's relief. He executes a backflip in midair, repositioning himself for combat. Landing, he prepares to face the 2-headed creature. Yakumo warns that it was too close and suggests they flee, but he just says no, never taking his eyes off the monster. Staring down the creature, he gets into a stance to finally fight seriously. The creature charges. both heads ready to attack. Dodging the blow, he slips under the ferocious creature's massive claws. The monster looks confused after missing its target. It looks down to see Hinata manage to slide between its legs. In an instant, he delivers 2 quick slashes from beneath the enemy. Yakumo doesn't understand what's happening with his movements. She's impressed by the way he's dodging the attacks. He anticipates the attack from the right, dodging with incredible precision. Predicting the blow from the left, he states he can see everything clearly now. He explains he sees not just the movement, but the monster's intent. Even though it's terrifying, he readies himself to continue the fight without hesitation. Thanks to this new sight, he claims he can see the opponent perfectly. Suddenly, the creature's core begins accumulating a massive amount of energy. Elsewhere, Takayuki's group runs through the forest to provide backup. One of them shouts that they've found the location and prepares for rescue, but Takayuki stops them, ordering everyone to wait. Watching the fight closely, he notices something different about the confrontation. At that moment, Hinata focuses entirely on getting his revenge. Fist ready, he leaps toward the monster for the final blow. He charges full force at the creature, which prepares to receive him. Spinning midair, he focuses all his power into his right fist. He unleashes the punch with every bit of determination he has. His fist lands squarely on the monster's chest with tremendous force. The impact sends the giant creature flying backward. The monster's 2 heads recoil in agony from the impact. Roaring with all his might, he drives the attack forward. Maintaining the pressure, his fist unleashes a massive surge of concentrated energy. He follows through, launching the creature away with the force of the blast. The monster's defeat is broadcast live on a big screen. Watching the feed, Sherry Truman looks like she can't believe her eyes. Beside her, the school principal just gives a very satisfied smile. Shocked, people online begin questioning if it was even real. In his room, a viewer comments that nobody expected this outcome. Watching on their phones, 2 female students mention how incredible it was. Comments start rolling in, saying he beat the boss and that they should have placed bets. Over at the hospital, Hikari watches intently on her tablet. She smiles with huge relief at the final result. In the crowd, someone asks if that guy is really from Class E. Another student confirms it, saying it looks like he is. Nearby, Shizuku and another student just watch everyone's reaction. The student looks up, seeming to calmly analyze the situation. Remembering past events, he comments that those guys got what they deserved. With a grin, he remarks that things are getting more and more interesting. Back in the forest, the defeated creature begins to vanish right before their eyes. Disengaging his suit, Hinata falls to his knees, completely exhausted from the fight. Worried, Yakumo runs over, asking if he's okay as she helps him. Together with Hagane, she supports him so he can stand up. Hiding nearby, Takayuki asks just what happened in that fight. Explaining the scene, his colleague says Hinata's movements suddenly improved. Then the other guy warns that it's dangerous because Hagan might end up revealing everything. After hearing the warning, Takayuki decides they need to act right now. With determination, he states this is their only chance to finally finish Hinata off. Hesitating a bit, his colleague says that's a little complicated. Meanwhile, Hinata and his friends continue walking through the forest with difficulty. Hearing the hesitation, Takayuki gets irritated and asks what he means. He grabs him and asks if he wants to get expelled. On a call, a man shows the scene to Sherry Truman, his superior. He informs his mistress that Takayuki is talking to him like that. Seeing the situation, Sherry comments that he really is an outrageous person. She orders them to arrest him immediately, but the subordinate asks for a moment. However, the director suggests they just observe the situation for now. Explaining his decision, he says stopping him now would only feed his resentment. If that happened, he would just try something similar again another day. Questioning the plan, she asks if he's suggesting they let them solve it themselves. Looking at the screen, she worries, as the student seems to be at his limit. Very tired, Hinata continues to lean on Yakumo and Hagane to walk. The director says that if things get worse, they will have to intervene. Watched from afar, a drone films the group's entire movement through the forest. Then Takayuki convinces his colleague to finally join him in the attack. Without hesitation, the two run together toward Hinata and his friends. With his relic already activated, he advances with a smile full of determination. Noticing their approach, Hinata steps in front to protect his 2 friends. Shouting Hinata's name, he jumps with his fist ready to strike. With a yell, he unleashes a powerful blow right into the middle of the group. After the attack, he stares into the dust with a satisfied smile on his face, but his expression changes completely when he realizes something went very wrong. Holding the attack, Hinata warns that the skill gap between them is vast. Feeling the pain, Takayuki reacts with anger at having his attack blocked. Seeing his relic being crushed, he screams furiously, unable to break free. Even taking the hit, he manages to retaliate with a right hook. Without retreating, Hinata blocks his strike using his left arm again. Holding his fist firmly, he prepares for a counterattack. Then he lands a powerful blow right on his rival's chin. From the force of the impact, Takayuki is thrown backward violently. Lying on the ground, he accuses Hinata of planning it all. Without wasting time, Hinata hauls him up, grabbing him firmly by the shirt collar. He tells him that's enough of all this mess created. Even in that situation, Takayuki cracks a mocking smile at him. With a quick movement, he tries to land another blow to Hinata's face. But Hinata easily dodges the strike, leaving his adversary completely surprised. Giving him no time to react, Hinata lands a solid headbutt. With his rival on the ground, he tells him what he's doing is childish. Carrying on, he says that's why he hadn't bothered with him until now. Unwilling to accept the words, Takayuki stares intensely at him from the ground. He remembers the other times he was easily defeated by Hinata. With his body trembling, he tries to get up to continue the fight. Yelling not to mess with him, Takayuki advances once more, but Hinata simply lands a full-force blow right to his stomach. Feeling the hard hit, he can't avoid an immediate reaction of pain. With his rival lying on the ground, Hinata just observes the result of the confrontation. Pointing at him, Hinata starts saying something about his opponent's level. He claims that for someone like him, he doesn't even need to use his sacred relic. Seeing the fight is over, Yakumo and Hagane run toward him. Over the phone, Sherry looks at the image and says the situation is resolved. The director explains that this is the difference between those who trained and those who didn't. With everything settled, the new test for the second group is finally concluded. The day after the exam, routine returns to the futuristic city. In the school hallway, a student complains that their first class is math. Just then, two girls see someone approaching and react with surprise. Walking down the hall, Hinata becomes the center of everyone's attention. Discussing the previous day, the girls say that what he did was incredible. Accompanied by Yakumo, he keeps walking while all the other students watch him. Yakumo comments that she gets the feeling everyone is staring at them. She recalls how, before, everyone simply ignored their presence there. Now she says everyone's attitude has completely flipped. Hearing everything, Hinata just keeps walking down the hall without saying a word. Remembering the past, he recalls how the students used to mock him. Keeping a serious expression, he just stares at the path ahead. Now, the students' gazes seem filled with curiosity and even admiration. With a slight smile, he finally seems to agree with what Yakumo said. Winking at him, she says they managed to achieve the goal of changing perceptions. Smiling, he responds to the comment she just made. At that moment, a girl starts walking toward the group down the hallway. Seeing who is approaching, his expression changes completely to a more serious one. Then Shizuku and her companion pass by them without stopping. As they cross paths, the two exchange a quick, direct glance. Passing him, she says she was impressed and has reevaluated her opinion a little, but immediately after, she warns that it's just that, and nothing more. Already walking away, she comments that in Class A he would win more easily. Irritated by what she heard, Yakumo asks what that girl's problem is. He just replies that she's always like that, and there's no need to worry. Suggesting she take it as a compliment, he continues while Yakumo questions him. Walking beside Shizuku, the other guy looks back for an instant. Then he cracks a very strange smile before moving on with her. Shifting to the end of the day, the sun is already setting over the school. Back in his room, he begins packing his things into a suitcase. On the table, Hagane's expulsion notice made his departure from the school official. Adjusting his glasses, he just says that he's okay with that decision. With his bags packed, he confirms he hasn't forgotten anything behind. Then he walks to the door, preparing to finally leave the room. After he leaves, the room remains completely empty and in total silence. Outside, Hagane walks alone, carrying his suitcase and a bag. Suddenly, he stops, surprised to see someone standing there in front of him. Realizing it's Hinata, he calls his name, still a bit surprised. Approaching, he says Hinata arrived just in time for the final farewell. Unsure how to react, Hinata seems at a loss for words in that moment. Seeing his reaction, Hagane tells him not to worry, as he caused this himself. He explains that the outcome wasn't bad since Takayuki was detained. Then he says he was only expelled because he was threatened, without complaining. Seeing Hinata's expression, he asks him not to look at him like that. Opening his bag, he says he needs to warn him about something in advance. Shifting to the director's office, he comments that another year has ended safely. His assistant questions if he really thinks it was safe, and he admits the risk. But he immediately adds that at least they had a good show. He even comments that even the master of the Deldoris Guild seemed satisfied. In another moment, Sherry says she feels secure with the successor's training. Then she asks to inform the student that he would be welcome as an intern. Back in the office, the assistant says the offer was a surprise. Explaining the new rule, he says that first-year students can go fight, but he warns that for this, they will need a guild to receive them. Then she asks if Hinata from Class E meets the requirements. Without answering directly, The director just faces her with a very confident look. Responding with the result, he confirms that Hinata is now in Class B. Arriving at his new homeroom, he faces the sign for Class 1B. Inside, students were already chatting before class started. Seeing him enter, one student whispers to a friend about the new guy. Taking his seat, he just waits in total silence for class to begin. With everyone staring, he comments on how awkward the situation is. He realizes being in Class B is a huge difference from his old class. Looking around, he notes how different the vibe is from Class E. Even the students' posture during class seems completely different. Two girls then call a friend to go to the training portal. Just then, a classmate approaches from behind and calls him newbie. Leaning on the desk, he asks what it feels like to be in Class B. Not understanding the question, Hinata just stares at him, unsure how to reply. Then the guy introduces himself as Arakawa Subaru, a veteran of that class. Smiling, he says he'd like to ask a question. He asks point blank, "What's the secret to cheating on the tests?" Questioning the accusation, Hinata asks if that actually makes any sense to him. Subaru explains he's never seen a Class E student climb so high. He says everyone is curious about how he ranked up so fast. Slamming the table, he questions if Hinata really belongs in this new class. Then he asks if it's true a guild helped him with the boss. Hinata just stares at him silently for a moment, with a slight smile. Irritated, Subaru yells, asking why he's laughing at the situation. Suddenly, class begins, and the teacher stands at the front of the room. The teacher announces that until the next exam, everyone there is Class B. While listening, Subaru seems thoughtful about the class's current makeup. He warns them not to get complacent because the real goal is Class A. Recalling the results, he emphasizes that the skill gap is significant. Then he says to get into a good guild, they need to close that gap. At that, Subaru interrupts, saying the training portal is useless for practice. Agreeing with him, the teacher says that's a good point to raise. Showing a license, the teacher explains it serves as proof of ability. Confused, the students ask what this provisional license is. The teacher explains that the license allows entry into practice portals. Grabbing chalk, he starts writing on the board to explain better. He writes on the board, explaining they need permission for internships. Facing the class, he explains that most gain experience this way. Warning of the risk, the teacher says the challenge is worth it for them. By lunchtime, students start leaving for break. Coming into the room, Yakumo goes to Hinata's desk to talk. She asks how Class B is, and he says he feels out of place. Complaining, she says it's unpleasant being stared at like that by everyone. Then she complains about getting involved with someone annoying like Takayuki. Changing the subject, she asks if he heard the news about internships. She reveals that even as interns, they get paid. Curious, he asks how much he can earn, and she explains it can be a lot. Explaining the pay, she says the internship yields more than the training portal. Seeing the chance to make money, he gets determined to land an internship. He remembers he needs to help with the outstanding hospital bills. Checking his status, he notes his growth in the portal is capped. Finding it the perfect opportunity, he immediately asks where to sign up for the internship. She tells him recruitment is on the school bulletin board. Standing up in a hurry, she warns him not to rush. Inviting him, she asks if they can sign up together after class. Smiling, he agrees to the idea of going together later. Just then, Shirohane appears and says she wants to sign up with them too. Confused, Yakumo asks why she is there in the classroom. Explaining the situation, she says it's not strange since her room is next door. Smiling, she tells him she kept the promise that was made. Touching his chest, she says it wouldn't be weird for them to act together. Inviting him to the internship, she's surprised when he refuses immediately. Pointing at him, Shirohane insists they must go to the internship together. Yelling, she asks the reason for the refusal, and he explains he wouldn't be able to train. Without backing down, she keeps trying to convince him while Subaru watches from afar. Watching the scene, Subaru questions why a Class A talent would do that. Shirohane says it's safer to stay by his side in case something happens. Smiling, Subaru comments that it's great he wants to participate in the internship. Then he says he might go to the same place and expose his identity. Making a weird gesture, she tries to convince him in a very exaggerated way. After class, the sun begins to set over the school building. Arriving at his dorm, he gets in the elevator to go to his room. In the end, the three of them end up signing up for the same internship together. Reading the form, he sees the guild is rank B, and the portal is rank D. Seeing they only accept 3, he hopes he won't get rejected during screening. Suddenly, he turns around upon hearing a very familiar voice behind him. Lying on the bed, the girl warns that with his skills, he could die. He just stares at the scene, unsure what to say and very scared. Seeing her reading a book, he asks what she's doing there. Entering the room, he finds the girl lying on the bed. She asks why he's there. Then she smiles. She says his question is pretty strange. She explains that her body is tied to the castle, but he disagrees. He reminds her of her own words. They were supposed to meet, only after he got stronger. She claims his growth was so slow, she had to come check on him herself. Surprised, he falls silent. She asks why he's reacting that way. She explains that sacred relics can just appear out of nowhere and interact with the world. He still doesn't get it. He watches her move around the room. Finally, he asks who she is. She replies that she's a nameless traitor. After thinking for a moment, she says he can choose a name for her to use. She tells him to call her Nanashi from now on. The next day, students are walking normally down the school hallway. Seeing his expression, Yakumo Akane approaches. She asks if something is wrong. While eating, he denies it, but Nanashi appears and says he can't lie. She leans in and whispers, since he spoke up, she has a question for him. Trying to cover, he points to the side. He asks if she sees anything over there. She gets scared and asks if something is really there, but he says he's just joking. It becomes clear to him that Nanashi is totally invisible to other people. After all, the system screen that pops up can only be seen by its owner too. Approaching them, Shirohani Sachi asks what they were talking about. Repeating the prank, Akane asks if Sachi can see anything next to him. Sachi backs away with a disgusted look, which he finds pretty typical. Unconcerned with the scene, Nanashi asks when their training will begin. Warning him of the danger, she says that with his current skills, he might die. Turning his face away, he says there's something he's curious about. Remembering their conversation, he realizes she simply doesn't talk to weaklings. He still doesn't know what her real goal is with all this. Suddenly, Professor Gonzo enters the room. He says he finally found them. Surprised, Akane recognizes the man and calls him Mr. Gonzo. Congratulating the group, the professor says he's proud they ranked up. He then asks the professor directly what this is all about. Handing over some papers, the professor says he came to help the authorized students. He congratulates the two girls, saying things got easier with the guild. Then he asks them to go to the meeting room after class. Patting him on the shoulder, Gonzo informs Arakawa that he didn't get the spot. Realizing the situation, Arakawa says they prioritized Akane because she's a support. Hands on his head, the other student screams that he was rejected too. While Arakawa hangs his head, the professor continues talking to the group. Sachi warns that you can't just give up halfway. Trying to console the boy, the professor says other places are still recruiting. Changing the subject, he turns and speaks directly to Hinata now. Pointing to a document, he says Hinata received a special offer. Reading the paper, Hinata is surprised and asks if it's really Deldoris. Behind him, Nanashi silently watches the whole situation unfold. The scene changes to the training portal after school. Exhausted, he stops to breathe after finishing off the monsters on the field. He looks to the side and sees Nanashi sitting on a rock, just watching. Looking bored, she comments that he completely cleared the area. When he picks up an item from the ground, a system notification sounds immediately. The message warns that he has reached the absorption limit for those stones. Tired, he sits on the ground, wondering if it's okay to train like this. Checking his status, he notes he needs 5 more strength points. He wonders if there's another way, but Nanashi says it's useless. She tells him that a real fight in this condition would mean death. Then she asks what happened to the eyes he received from her. Focusing his vision, he activates the skill called Mystic Warrior's Eye. The ability allows him to predict the next movement of the target he's observing. Hand on his face, he complains that the skill's effect doesn't last long. She states it's because of his low intelligence. He asks what that is. Nanashi explains that intelligence is the power to understand supernatural phenomena. He asks what she means. She simplifies it. It's the power to activate magic. Surprised, he repeats the word magic. She questions his astonishment. He says he's heard of monsters using magic, but never humans. She explains that with the right trigger, magic can manifest in anyone. His status screen shows his magic stat is only 5. Seeing the low number, she reacts with shock. He asks her to stop it. Composing herself, she turns and says they need to continue anyway. Jumping off the rock, she warns she'll have to use a different method now. She reveals he already has the ability to challenge a C-rank portal, but she adds that he can't utilize his full power yet. With a flick of her finger, she begins to concentrate energy at her fingertips. A huge blue portal opens right in front of them on the field. Standing at the entrance, she tells him he needs to listen if he wants to get stronger. Looking at the scene, he realizes that's the entrance to a real portal. With a tense expression, he gulps, preparing himself for what's coming. Without hesitation, he walks straight into the open portal. Arriving on the other side, he finds himself in a dark, destroyed hallway. As he walks through the place, he observes his surroundings carefully and cautiously. Suddenly, something glinting on the ground catches his eye. Reacting to the movement, he whips his head around to see what it is. Out of nowhere, a spear pierces his chest, taking him completely by surprise. The scene shows his training, as he's struck by several wooden stakes. Lying on the ground, he continues to endure the pain of the blows during training. Right after, a trap is activated, and a stone block plummets down. On the ground, only a few stains are visible after the trap's impact. Impaled from below, he's lifted high into the air by multiple spears. Completely paralyzed and wounded, he stares ahead, blood leaking from his mouth. Suddenly, he wakes up, eyes wide, sweating in total panic. The next moment, he finds himself lying on the grass, completely unharmed and confused. Staring at his own hand, he wonders if he's actually still alive. Nanashi then explains that her portal only transports the spirit, not the body. She continues, telling him his body remains defenseless while he's in the portal. Seeing his expression, she asks if he feels outraged by the unfairness of it. With a serious look, she warns him not to be spoiled about these things. Walking away, she says that kind of attitude won't make him any stronger. She reminds him that, just like at the start, the suit has its conditions. He asks if emotional intensity isn't the trigger, and she confirms it is. Approaching him, she points out that the suit isn't that simple. He then asks if he needs to clear that dungeon for the next awakening. With a slight smile, she just says that it's a shortcut. She turns and asks if they should change locations. Scene change. The school is shown under a starry night sky. Back in the room, he appears collapsed on the floor near the portal. Sitting on the bed, she watches him and starts explaining the suit. She continues, saying he needs to show power and heart to the suit. Smiling, she asserts that death is something completely irrational. Then she orders him to overcome this situation and move forward. Suddenly, spikes begin appearing from holes in the dungeon ceiling. Running down the hallway, he tries to dodge spears shooting from the walls. Right after, he gets hit and screams in pain, bleeding from his mouth. Just then, a giant boulder starts rolling down the corridor toward him. Looking back, he sees the massive stone heading straight for him. Waking up back in the room, he screams and writhes on the floor. He lies panting on the ground as Nanashi approaches and touches his shoulder. While he takes deep breaths, she stares at him with a serious expression. Getting up, he turns back toward the portal while Nanashi watches. Planting his feet firmly on the ground, he prepares to attempt the challenge once more. Sitting on the bed, she asks if he happens to have lost his nerve now. He faces the fear, knowing he needs to overcome the terror of death. Smiling, she rests her face in her hand and starts talking. She tells him that people who face fear are called heroes. The next morning, he walks alone down an empty school hallway. Remembering the night before, he says that in the end, he couldn't bring himself to try again. He recalls that this time it would be different, facing real pain. Seeing his hesitation, Nanashi cursed at him and returned to the treasure tool. Looking at his hand, he knows he wouldn't die, but he was still shaking. Angry at himself, he clenches his fist and laments. Arriving at the meeting room, he knocks on the door before entering. Announcing his arrival, he asks to be excused upon seeing the Deldoris sign. Entering the room, he finds the guildmasters waiting for him. Present in the room was Shizuku Minase, one of the Class A students. Beside her was Haito Hebishima, another student from the same elite class. Also at the meeting was Chloe Budget, another Class A member. Finally, Anho Heihine completed the group of elite students present. Seeing the students, Arakawa approaches and taunts Hinata about being in Class E. He says an internship at Deldoros might be too much for him to handle. Listening to the conversation, Shizuku gives a faint smile without saying anything. Hinata replies, asking why he isn't with his Class B classmates. Irritated, Arakawa shouts that his skills are much closer to Class A. Anho then remarks that's exactly why he can't get out of Class B. He retorts, reminding her that she was also Class B until recently. Unfazed, Chloe just replies that he's not interested in fighting. He adds that Arakawa isn't even worth the effort of a fight. Furious, Arakawa challenges him to a test, while Hinata watches everything. Suddenly, a loud sound echoes through the meeting room, interrupting the argument. Struck by something invisible, he recoils, clutching his stomach in pain. Surprised by the scene, Arakawa drops into a combat stance. Understanding nothing, Chloe then provokes Arakawa, saying that's why he's no fun to play with. Then Arakawa remembers that his ability controls invisible, dangerous blades. Turning his face aside, Chloe just scoffs and completely ignores the situation. He continues watching everything unfold with a very serious expression. Surrounded by blades, Hinata wonders if he realized that he noticed the attack. Chloe turns to Haito, who was silently watching all the confusion. Smiling, Haito seems to be enjoying the whole argument quite a bit. Standing next to Shizuku, Hinata keeps sweating due to all the tension. She asks if he doesn't find it pathetic to be sweating, but he says this is different. Shizuku then warns that she'd prefer he quit if he's just going to embarrass himself. With a cold look, She asserts that weak people are just a burden. She adds that the weak only serve to get in everyone else's way. Suddenly, a man enters, apologizing and saying it was the only available time. The newcomer then asks for all the students to gather there. Addressing the group, he announces that the internship will start in 1 week. With a serious expression, Shizuku turns her face and listens to the instructions. The man then says, everyone needs to listen closely to be prepared. Back in the room, Hinata throws down his backpack and asks if Nanashi is there. With determination, he yells for the portal to the spirit world to be opened. Appearing, Nanashi asks the reason for his sudden strange motivation. Pointing at him, she questions if that woman's words got to him. Clenching his fist, he admits he was called weak and couldn't respond, but he asserts that his heart isn't as weak as his body. With a faint smile, Nanashi watches him silently for a brief moment. Stating that he won't give up, he walks back toward the portal. Back in the dungeon, he moves down the dark corridor with extreme caution. Something ahead catches his eye. He stops dead. Spears shoot from the wall. He dives to the floor to dodge. Narrowly escaping, he recovers on the ground after the initial assault. He remembers now. Look closely before acting. After all, every detail on the floor is there for a reason. Suddenly, a sharp object flies at him from the darkness. Scanning the wall, he realizes the left side isn't safe. Arrows fire from multiple holes along the hallway. Angling his body, he dodges a blade that passes way too close. A wall of spikes suddenly emerges, blocking his path. With a leap, he flips right over the deadly trap. Landing on the floor, he notices the ceiling shaking and moving. Seeing it descend, he reaches out toward the trap. More spikes advance. He turns to face the new threat. Using the walls for leverage, he dodges spears coming from all directions. He jumps over spinning blades that suddenly burst from the ground. One careless step. He treads on a loose plate in the hallway. Realizing the mistake, he looks back at the sound of the trap triggering. The floor suddenly opens up, plunging him into darkness. Falling into the abyss, he refuses to give up and faces the situation head on. In a flashback, he's seen running alone on a track. He keeps running, breathing deep and maintaining his training pace. Back in his room, he does push-ups with Nanashi sitting on his back. Returning to the dungeon, he falls, twisting in midair to reposition himself. Sitting on the floor, he pants while Nanashi watches him closely. Back in the dungeon, the view shows a bloody stone ball. In the room, he continues the push-up training with her still seated on him. Inside the dungeon, a wall torch illuminates the dark corridor. Running through the hallway, he presses on despite his visibly injured leg. He gets hit square on by a huge wooden log in the dungeon. Recovering from the blow, he takes a deep breath, looking up with determination. With a focused gaze, he analyzes the dark path ahead. Reaching the end of the corridor, a massive winged creature awaits him in the shadows. The monster reveals itself completely, crouched in front of the gate. Clenching his fist, he prepares to finally face the great creature. He runs to attack, launching himself directly at the monster. Suddenly, a system notification pops up. He acquired new skills. The new skills are detailed: concentration and super reflexes. Scene change. The city is shown on the day of the long-awaited internship. Elsewhere, a man asks if the item buyers have already been contacted. Introducing himself as Hatsumata Jin, he addresses the guild master, Sherry. He tells her preparations are almost complete. She just nods. Seeing her excitement, he comments that she seems in a good mood. She says the student they wanted is coming and confirms the interest in Menace. She mentions other students are coming, including the boy in the special suit. Jin remembers his name was Asahi, but didn't see anything special about him. Sherry says he's weaker than them, then spots the group arriving. Professor Gonzo approaches with the students, waving to the guild. He greets Sherry, thanking her for having them, and she returns the greeting. Bowing, Shizuku thanks them for the opportunity to intern at their guild. All the other students bow and thank them formally as well. Shizuku turns her face and stares at Hinata for a brief moment. Without reacting, he just stares back, maintaining a serious posture. With hands clasped, the two stand in silence, observing the environment. Sherry explains they will challenge an unexplored C-rank portal. Explaining the formation, she says they'll split into 3 teams. Class A will be in front with her, leading the main attack. The 2 from Class B will be in the middle guard with the submaster. Finishing up, she says the goal is to defeat the boss and close the portal. Arakawa warns him that this is a real battle, not training. Surprised, Shizuku asks why even Deldoris challenges a C-rank portal. Sherry explains that their job is to suppress portals and protect. She says some do it for money and fame, thinking of someone specific. Mentioning Kikane, she says it's an honor to have his granddaughter there. Then, she invites everyone to enter the portal at once. Jin turns and asks the guys in the middle guard to stay back. Warning of the danger, he says he won't be able to protect them if they split up. Arakawa provokes him, telling him not to slow down the group. He explains he's only there as a precaution because of them. Jin then warns that the portal is full of ranked and dangerous enemies. Hand on his chin, he ponders the C-rank enemies. Remembering the Chimera, he knows he needs to stay on total alert. Then Jin shouts to the middle guard, ordering everyone to advance. Stepping through the portal, the group prepares for the challenge awaiting them. Arriving on the other side, the group analyzes the strange new environment. Seeing the destruction, Jin comments that the front line already did some damage. Impressed by the scene, Arakawa praises the speed of that S-rank guild. Suddenly, Hinata charges forward at high speed, surprising Submaster Jin. At that moment, a rock is hurled rapidly toward the whole group. With a swift strike, he shatters the rock in midair. Jin observes the action, totally taken aback by the quick movement. Pointing to the trees, a guild member warns that there's an enemy. Hidden in the branches, a monkey monster prepares to attack the group. Identifying the creature, Jin draws his massive sword for combat. Holding the weapon with both hands, he readies for the attack. In one quick motion, he surges forward and defeats the monster with a single blow. Arakawa and Hinata watch, surprised by the Submaster's speed and power. He then orders his men to search the area for more enemies. Hinata's action showed that the enemy went unnoticed by everyone else. Turning, Jin stares at Hinata, realizing he noticed the danger first. Saying the situation might be interesting, he runs into the field, shifting to a D-class gate. The setting is now a forest with a river. Suddenly, two tree-shaped monsters emerge and charge Akani's group. A guild warrior asks her to give support to their attack. Weapon in hand, she fires a massive blast at the monsters. It hits the creatures dead on, causing a huge impact on the field. Impressed, the warrior praises the incredible strength she demonstrated right then. With a slight smile, Shirohani Sachi watches the scene, satisfied with the result. She then says that, as expected of Class A students, this will be an easy victory. Akani complains, but Sachi replies that she wouldn't make a mistake like that. Sachi then tells them to finish this quickly so they can leave. Remembering Hinata, she questions if he's doing well in his internship. Looking up at the sky, she keeps wondering about how he's getting along. Back at the other portal, Hinata lands a powerful blow on the monkey monster. The monster recoils from the attack but immediately prepares a counter. Then, one of the guild members appears and attacks the creature from behind. Hinata advances, running alongside the guild member to help with the assault. The monkey throws a rock, but Hinata readies a powerful counterattack. He lands a direct hit on the monster's face, smashing the stone. With its guard down, he punches the creature with all his strength. Seeing the monsters defeated, the guild member praises his skills. Arakawa watches the fight from afar, surprised by Hinata's performance. He questions how someone from Class E can have movements like that. Then he realizes he hasn't managed to do anything in the battle yet. Angry, he grabs his weapon, ready to jump into action too. He advances toward the monsters, running to join the fight. Firing his weapon, he hits one of the monkeys squarely in the chest. Yelling, he says he won't let Hinata steal all the glory. From a distance, Jin observes the performance of the two students carefully. He comments that they aren't bad, even with the rivalry. Jin notes that, despite being rough, Arakawa has good attack power. He also notices that Hinata doesn't seem to have much stamina left, but he observes that he knows how to act and doesn't push past his limits in combat. Jin gets even more impressed with the skills he's demonstrating. Suddenly, Hinata yells, warning about an attack from above. Jin realizes his reaction speed is abnormally fast. A monster appears holding a rock, ready to attack the group. The creature then roars and jumps, launching itself at the warriors. A guild member tries to block, but the monster dodges the blow. Another warrior attacks, and the monster manages to dodge again. Seeing the monster jump in his direction, Jin watches it intently. He then advances and lands a powerful blow on the monster's face. Jin questions if he was born with extraordinary combat instincts. In a flashback, he remembers a piece of advice during training. Sitting on the bed, she asked him to look closely at a book. She showed him a picture of a frog and asked what he thought. She said he needed to refine that instinct to conquer the gate. Explaining, she stated that the sense of danger begins with a simple thought. He remembers the advice to sharpen his 5 senses and question everything. Concentrating, he uses his hearing to perceive the movements around him. With a jump, he dodges an attack, using his ears to predict it. Using his vision, he analyzes the environment to anticipate dangers. He then destroys a rock flying toward him, using his eyes. One of the guild members approaches and asks to speak with Jin. He questions the excessive number of enemies they found in the area. Jin agrees, finding it strange to see so many monsters after the vanguard had passed. He wonders if something happened to them, even while underestimating the portal. Dismissing the idea, he remembers that Sherry is one of the top 10 in Japan. Still, he remains worried, thinking there's no way they could lose. Suddenly, a sniper positions himself, aiming at the guild members. The scope fixes on Jin, and the shooter confirms the target locked. Preparing the shot, his finger rests on the trigger. Noticing the scope aimed at his face, Hinata reacts in surprise to the distant threat. Running at full speed, he throws a stone backward without even looking. Hitting the weapon's scope, the stone surprises the distant shooter. Pulling back with the weapon, he warns that he'll continue monitoring the situation. Jin asks what happened, and Hinata explains that he was the target. Confirming it was a person, Hinata remains on total alert. Jin then questions if it was a criminal guild trying to steal the rewards. He realizes that Hinata perceived an enemy that even he couldn't detect. Thanking him for saving him, their conversation is interrupted by an emergency shout. Desperate, the man yells that the captain is in danger and everyone needs to retreat. Hearing the warning, Hinata and Jin turn with alarmed expressions. Disbelieving, Jin calls the situation ridiculous and asks what kind of joke this is. Changing scenes, Sherry protects Shizuku, both in combat stances. A member runs in screaming, "It's an emergency. Everyone needs to regroup." As he gets closer, he confirms the worst. Captain Sherry is in grave danger. With a serious expression, Hinata murmurs Shizuku's name, worried sick about her. 4 minutes earlier, the vanguard group is gathered at the portal. Sherry explains their job is to clear a path for the rearguard. Showing them a map, she instructs everyone to spread out and eliminate the enemies. Shizuku questions the danger, but Sherry insists it's no problem for them. Planting her feet firmly, she prepares to show her strength. Suddenly, a giant creature emerges in front of the vanguard group. The monster opens its mouth, charging a powerful fire attack. Sherry instantly creates a barrier, blocking the giant monster's assault. Clenching her fist, she focuses her ice abilities. She charges forward and freezes the monster's head with a single strike. Meanwhile, Shizuku skillfully defeats several smaller monsters with her sword. After the fight, she turns to Sherry with a worried look. Watching the scene, the other Class A students seem quite impressed. Smiling, Haido comments that the rumors about her being a monster are true. Calling it an internship, Sherry turns towards the remaining monsters on the field. She tells the students they can handle the rest on their own. Wasting no time, Shizuku takes down a monster with her weapon. Right after, the other students finish off the remaining threats. Gripping her weapon, Shizuku notices the monster's movement is very different now. Approaching, Sherry congratulates the 3 students on their good work. When asked if she won't fight, Anho explains her artifact needs crystals. Understanding, Sherry says she can take a crystal from a monster. Denying the offer, Anho walks over and picks up a much larger crystal from the ground. She holds it near her bear, activating the strange artifact. The teddy bear transforms into a large purple battle monster. Hugging the creature, she happily says her collection is finally growing. Hand over her mouth, Sherry realizes Anho's artifact is very rare. Analyzing the ability, she notes its great support for the group. Seeing the potential, she realizes her list of recruits just keeps growing. From afar, a sniper reports the target has finally reached the spot. Receiving orders, he confirms and prepares to start the operation. Scope locked, the sniper focuses directly on Sherry's head. Suddenly, he reacts in surprise as if she noticed him. Through the scope, he sees Sherry now glaring at him with a deadly look. Before he can shoot, the sniper is eliminated by a quick attack. Turning away, she remarks that he was careless. He let his killing intent leak out. Immediately, several other snipers appear on the surrounding rocks. To defend herself, she creates a massive ice barrier in front. Seeing the shots, she yells that there are too many and calls for formation. She then creates ice pillars to protect the entire gathered group. Trying to communicate, she realizes her device isn't working. She orders a man to send reinforcements to the middle guard. Shizuku asks what's happening, and Sherry tells her they've walked into an ambush. Scared, Anho asks if it's an illegal guild, but Sherry finds the timing strange. She figures thieves would wait for the end of the battle. The risk is too high now. Seeing the projectiles, she notes they aren't artifacts, just meant to delay them. Completely surrounded, she realizes the situation is much more complicated than it seemed. With a serious look, she deduces someone is controlling all the monsters. She asks if she can leave the monsters to the academy students. As she advances, she thinks their true objective is still a mystery. Stomping on the ground, she knows a plan like this shouldn't work. Over the radio, a man orders his soldiers to begin the attack immediately. The enemies advance quickly over the rocks, completely surrounding the group. Using their weapons, they fire projectiles that kick up dust from the ground. Suddenly, Sherry turns with a look of total surprise on her face. Roots burst from the ground, wrapping tightly around her legs. Trapped, she wonders when they did this, struggling to free herself from the trap. Looking at her hand, she wonders what that strange sensation is. With a focused gaze, she starts to suspect what might be happening. Surprised, she grabs her other hand and realizes her crest has been affected. A monkey takes advantage of the distraction and charges to attack her directly. Unable to react, she extends her hand, trying to protect herself from the blow. Seeing the danger, Shizuku jumps in front and blocks the monster's attack. Turning, she asks if Sherry is okay, who thanks her for the save. Sherry then yells for everyone to protect their crests, warning them about the enemy technique. Surprised by the news, Chloe says this has to be a joke. Haito complains too, saying his artifact won't activate, and he has to use his snake. Yelling orders, Sherry says they are retreating to regroup. From afar, the enemy leader warns they won't escape. Scared, she notices a light coming rapidly toward all of them. A large fire projectile is fired at the trapped group. The enemy soldiers comment that without her artifact, she won't survive. Back to the attack, she prepares for the enemy's final blow. At that moment, a vengeance and concentration skill is activated by someone. Leaping into the air, he strikes, deflecting the projectile away. Surprised by the action, Sherry and Shizuku turn to see what happened. Watching the scene, the enemy leader asks who the man that just appeared is. Landing in front of the group, he prepares for the battle to come. Eyes activated, he scans the entire surrounding area. Using his special vision, he confirms a total of 15 enemies. Fist clenched, Takayuki prepares to unleash a powerful attack. He punches the ground with all his might, ripping open a massive crater. Watching the explosion from a distance, the two soldiers simply observe in silence. Over the radio, one masked figure warns that he's going to use it and orders everyone to prepare. Sherry turns her head, looking to the side as she notices movement. While the group rests, Sherry turns and thanks him for the help. She then asks if he's alone, and he explains his ability. Approaching, Shizuku asks Hinata why he came. In a flashback, it was explained to him that his speed was necessary. Placing a hand on his shoulder, the vice captain says it was an order. Back in the present, Sherry says the vice captain only gives orders to those he trusts. Observing the boy, the man comments that he seems to have gotten stronger. Hinata asks why she looks unhappy, considering he saved them. Head down, Shizuku says she'll only end up getting in everyone's way. Hearing her words, Sherry just stares at her silently for a moment. Then Sherry tells her not to worry, as she is valuable with the sealed artifacts. Explaining the situation, she warns that they neutralize artifacts using a special crest. Whispering to the girl, Hinata asks about the status of Sherry's artifact. In a sort of vision, Sherry appears floating inside a sphere of water. Sitting on her throne, a girl warns that she feels no power coming from the vault. Then, the girl explains that the vault is the space created by the magic crystal. Stating with certainty, she says Sherry's was taken and won't return. Faced with this revelation, he questions if the artifact was really taken by them. Seeing the situation, one of the guys asks what they're going to do next. Looking at Sherry, Hinata replies that they just need to wait for now. Suddenly, an armored man approaches the soldiers lying on the ground. Without hesitation, he raises his sword against the last soldier aiming at him. With the attack, a massive explosion hits the mountain as the group watches. Declaring they've been underestimated, the vice captain prepares for combat. Shouting for them to repent, he leads the charge against the opponents. Not wanting to be left behind, Arakawa says he won't let him take all the glory. Meanwhile, the other guild members advance and take down the first opponents. Watching the fight, Sherry comments that this was expected of their vice captain. Then she shouts a warning, reminding everyone about the technique that neutralizes artifacts. Weapon in hand, Kaori fires at a soldier amidst the chaos. Seeing the advantage, Shizuku comments that it looks like they can handle it, but suddenly, Sherry's expression turns to shock as she notices movement. Without warning, a surprise attack hits, throwing two of their companions. Lying on the ground, one guild member is completely defeated from a distance. Seeing his men tossed through the air, the vice captain turns in surprise. Turning confused, he tries to understand what just happened on the battlefield. Suddenly, two projectiles fly toward him at high speed. Reacting in time, he manages to block the attack using only his gauntlet. Taking a direct hit, he gets pushed back, unable to react. Losing his balance completely, his foot slides backward from the impact's force. Lying on the ground, he recognizes the orb and asks if it belongs to the captain. Standing up in rage, he slams the tip of his sword into the ground. From afar, the soldier comments that such a defense was expected from the vice master. Suddenly, massive crystals emerge from the ground surrounding Hinata's group. With a serious expression, Sherry stares at the crystals that just appeared. Holding his injured arm, he realizes their ability is something else. Crystal in hand, the soldier warns that even as the vice master, he wouldn't be able to block the multiple discs launched in his direction. Yelling not to underestimate him, he prepares to face the projectiles. Spinning his sword, he deflects the discs and shouts that the enemy is no threat. The moment he stops, a masked soldier appears right behind him. Giving him no time to react, the soldier lands a direct hit on his chest. From afar, Hinata freezes as he watches the vice captain take the blow. Looking down at the fist, he recognizes the crest that struck his chest. Then, another soldier points a device and says it's too bad for him. With a surprised face, he sees what is happening right in front of him, but the attack is blocked by a shield, knocking the vice captain away. Seeing her companion sent flying, Sherry desperately screams his name. Running to his aid, she catches his body before he falls. In her arms, he apologizes, but she says the mistake was hers. Positioned behind the shield, the two soldiers face the defeated group. In the distance, Shizuku recognizes the shield-shaped artifact they used. Wide-eyed, Hinata confirms there are no doubts about that item. In a quick flashback, he remembers seeing that artifact with his father. Aiming his weapon, the soldier warns that their client also wants her artifact. Holding the wounded man, Sherry replies that their client is despicable. Unfazed, the soldier says that artifacts are more valuable than any jewel. He explains that their client thought about what happens to artifacts. Then he reveals that they experimented on bodies so humanity could be reborn. The speech ends by stating that humans have become the most valuable merchandise of all. Sherry screams furiously, accusing them of turning humans into merchandise. As he advances with determination, Shizuku shouts his name in warning. She asks if they were targeted because of that specific item. Holding the crystals, the masked soldier confirms her suspicion. Bracing to move forward, Hinata positions himself for the imminent attack. With a triumphant look, the soldier declares that thanks to this plan, they finally acquired the supreme artifact as Hinata draws near. Recognizing his suit, the soldier asks if he isn't a student. Hinata warns it's their unlucky day. They won't get what they want. Staring them down, he demands to know where they got that shield artifact. The soldier replies coldly, stating he owes the kid no explanation, but he taunts him, suggesting it must have come from one of the dead bodies. His face twisted in rage, Hinata yells, calling them trash. He activates his concentration ability to engage in combat. Taken completely by surprise, the soldier aims his weapon at the boy. Hinata dodges the shot, leaning back to evade the direct hit. Sherry comments on his impressive reflexes, but hesitates. Suddenly, his eyes widen, sensing a new threat. Projectiles shoot up from the ground, forcing him to leap away. Landing, he braces with one hand to regain his balance. From afar, Sherry notes his speed still isn't enough. An object is thrown to the ground with a quick gesture. Caught off guard, Hinata is knocked down and tossed into the air. After being thrown, he slides across the ground, dodging more attacks. He skids, managing to evade at the last moment. Seeing his speed, the soldiers question if it's because of the suit. While he's still down, one soldier moves in for the kill. Standing over him, the enemy says he's already seen his limits. Defenseless, a blow strikes Hinata squarely in the face. He's sent flying, spitting blood. Rolling on the ground, he tries to recover from the hit. Propping himself on a knee, he notices light traps activated around him. His eyes widen in realization of what's coming. A series of explosions erupts, kicking up a massive curtain of dust. Watching the scene, the vice captain gets annoyed with the whole situation. Shouting angrily, he runs toward the two soldiers, sword in hand. With a quick movement, he unleashes a full-strength strike, but his attack is blocked by a crystal appearing in front of the enemy. Holding the crystal high, the soldier warns him to just give up the fight. He explains their defeat was sealed the moment the artifact was captured. Using the distraction, two other soldiers jump to attack him from the flanks. Surrounded, he gets hit by simultaneous attacks from the new opponents. Shizuku arrives to help, entering the combat and attacking a soldier. Further back, another student uses an ability to create a barrier. Saying he'll provide cover, he gets confirmation from the vice captain. Spinning her blade, Shizuku keeps fighting while the student offers support. Facing the attacks, the soldiers reposition to continue the battle. Desperate at the sight, Arakawa says even 100 lives wouldn't be enough. He questions what a group of students could possibly do. Crying desperately, a girl begs for someone named Chloe not to die. With a serious look, the blindfolded student tells them to watch the result. Suddenly, a soldier attacks him from behind, catching him off guard. Shouting a warning, the vice captain tells him to dodge. Moving quickly, the hooded student charges into the fray. He attacks Shizuku, who tries to defend against the surprise blow. With a decisive strike, he manages to knock the girl to the ground. Seeing another shield, the soldier comments that makes 4 powerful artifacts now. Sword in hand, the vice captain curses them in frustration. He yells, asking why they are doing this instead of uniting. The soldier replies that greedy people have existed in every era. Explaining his logic, he says soldiers are just disposable resources now. He details the plan. Give them artifacts, recover them after death, and pass them on. He concludes that this solves the manpower shortage problem. Retorting, Hinata says his life exists thanks to those so-called disposables. Slowly standing up, he states not just anyone can replace them. In a brief memory, he recalls the heart he inherited. Clenching his fist with all his strength, he prepares to react. Receiving a system notification, he shouts with determination that he will fight. Seeing the upgrade notification, he accepts and commands the suit update. Immediately, his entire body begins a rapid transformation. All his companions watch, completely stunned by the sight. The change finishes, revealing him in his new powerful combat suit. Noticing the difference, the soldier is surprised by the artifact's new appearance. Despite the surprise, he faces the boy with a deadlier look. Approaching, he asks if Hinata isn't afraid of all this suffering. Head down, he replies that he's much more afraid of bowing down. Before everyone, his body suddenly releases an immense amount of power. In the blink of an eye, he appears right in front of the enemy soldier. Taken completely by surprise, the soldier can barely react to Hinata's sudden appearance. Hinata stands ready before him, prepared to continue the fight. The soldier tries to grab him, but his hand passes harmlessly through an afterimage. Yelling at him not to get cocky, the soldier throws a punch, but Hinata dodges, appearing behind him in the blink of an eye. With a powerful spinning strike, he launches the soldier into the distance. Flying through the air, the soldier curses as he's completely overpowered by the boy. Witnessing the scene, the other soldier turns, shocked by Hinata's speed. Before he even realizes it, Hinata appears right behind him. Grabbing the enemy by the shoulder, he stops him from reacting. Clenching his fist, he prepares the final blow. He delivers a direct hit that blasts a crater into the ground. Utterly defeated, the soldier falls motionless onto the desert sand. Standing over the body, Hinata simply observes the aftermath of his attack. Watching it all unfold, his companions are left slack-jawed by the power he just displayed. Hand on her chin, Sherry wonders if he had been hiding his true strength. Off to the side, Hinata remains focused, completely ignoring the chatter around him. He shouts a warning, telling everyone to stay sharp because there are still enemies left. Positioned up on the mountain, a soldier aims his weapon at the group. Using his acceleration ability, Hinata charges the remaining enemies. Zigzagging rapidly, he takes out all the soldiers on the hilltop. Then he leaps toward the last soldier, who stares back in complete surprise. Watching the fight from a distance, Arakawa falls silent for a moment. He remembers Hinata's words about the heart he inherited. Clenching his fist, he determines that he will fight alongside them too. A memory surfaces of the time he belittled Hinata for being Class E. With a frustrated strike, he vents all his anger at his past self. Turning away, he questions what he's even doing right now. Watching the fight, he compares Hinata's skill to his own. Fist clenched, he shouts Hinata's name in admiration. Blocking an attack, a guild member continues battling the soldiers. Seeing backup arrive, he realizes more people have joined the fray. Leaping into the chaos, Arakawa delivers a powerful kick to one of the soldiers. Wielding his weapon, he shouts that he'll fight to catch up and surpass them. Meanwhile, the vice captain attacks the last soldier, knocking away his shield. He then bellows orders for everyone to advance for the final offensive. As the battle intensifies, fighters move across the battlefield. Hidden behind a rock, the two students wonder if they should join the fight. Fist ready, Hinata continues to advance against the remaining opponents. Watching the entire scene, the blindfolded student remains silent for a moment. Sighing in relief, the vice captain finally realizes the fight is over. Looking at the restrained enemies, he asks if they caught them all. Questioning their effectiveness, Shizuku asks if the bindings are really enough. One of them explains that the cuffs will deliver a shock if they try to use artifacts. Arakawa retorts that she needs to study more, and she glares at him angrily. Sherry says they made it through, thanking Hinata for his help. She turns away and comments on his current condition. Completely exhausted, Hinata is lying face down, passed out in the middle of the desert. Lying on the ground, he realizes that just a few minutes of use left him like this. Checking his status, he understands the suit consumes far more energy than he can provide. Thinking back on the fight, he admits he would have been in trouble without Arakawa's help. Still lying down, he decides the suit will remain sealed until he can control it. Opening his eyes, he sees someone approaching to help him up. Shizuku extends her hand, offering assistance. Accepting the gesture, he apologizes as she asks about his plan. Looking away, he admits the plan wasn't solid at all. Turning her back on him, she says that in that case, he should just leave the academy. As she walks away, Arakawa calls her rude, but Hinata says that's just how she is. Turning to Hinata, Arakawa begins speaking seriously. With a deep bow, he apologizes, saying he didn't deserve to be in Class B. Desperate, Subaru asks if he can be forgiven for everything he's done. Without hesitation, Hinata says yes, leaving the boy completely shocked. Hinata adds that he was just throwing insults around, just like Kurimura. Explaining his point, He says he understands Subaru's pride in Class B. With tears in his eyes, Subaru is left speechless by his response. Celebrating, he hugs Hinata and tells him to just call him Subaru, no formalities needed. Changing focus, Sherry tells the soldier it's time to return the artifact. Mocking the situation, the soldier says it would be nice if such a method actually existed. Arriving suddenly, a young man confirms that there is a way to restore the item. Stuttering in shock, the soldier seems to recognize the newcomer as his boss. Looking back, Sherry and the vice captain are surprised by his appearance. With serious faces, they stare down the new enemy who has just emerged. With a smile, the boss announces that he has no intention of giving it back. With a calm smile, the green-haired man watches the situation unfold. Turning to the newcomer, Sherry demands to know who he is and what he's doing there. Glancing at the fallen body, she asks why he chose to kill his own subordinate. Faced with the death, Sherry and the vice captain stare at the man with tense expressions. Noticing her hand trembling, she wonders what's happening to her body. Suddenly, her eyes widen as she realizes something is terribly wrong. Completely paralyzed, she says her body can no longer move. But the green-haired man tells them not to worry. He doesn't kill without reason. He then explains he killed the soldier for acting recklessly. Crouching down, he reveals the order was to retreat even in case of failure. But the soldier started using the cube's power as if it were his own. Tossing the item into the air, he says the man betrayed the organization. Listening to the explanation, the vice captain finally understands what happened. He realizes the leader's tool is inside that mysterious cube. Seeing the paralyzed group, he warns them not to lower their guard just yet. Holding the cube, he remarks, "It's easier to kill when defenses are down." With a shocked expression, Sherry senses the imminent threat coming from him. Seeing the needle in her shadow, she questions when that happened. With a portal opening, he says his goodbyes and prepares to leave. Meanwhile, the captured soldiers begin being pulled into the shadowy portal. Turning to the vice captain, he thanks him for gathering all the targets. Touching his lip, he remembers a detail he almost forgot. Then he announces he's also taking the man's treasure tool. Facing the provocation, the vice captain just stares at him with intense rage. Appearing suddenly, Hinata stops him and orders him to leave the tool behind. Totally surprised, the man wonders how he managed to move. Looking at the needle on the ground, he realizes Hinata dodged the attack. With a smile on his face, he finds the whole situation quite interesting. Without hesitation, Hinata throws him far away with a quick movement of his arm. But when he looks back, he notices the enemy has simply disappeared. Using his ability, the man emerges from the shadow cast by Hinata's feet. Dagger in hand, he attacks from behind, aiming for a fatal blow. But the attack is blocked by Hinata's rapidly moving arm. Surprised, he realizes Hinata was fast enough to avoid the worst. With a powerful strike, Hinata throws the enemy away from him. Struck, the man can barely believe the boy's absurd speed. The blow is so strong, it makes him drop the cubes he was holding. While the man tries to recover, Hinata advances to continue the attack. Using a needle, Hinata pierces the man's hand, pinning it to the ground. With his hand pinned, the two cubes fall and roll across the desert sand. Seeing the items on the ground, both run to try and grab them first. The man manages to grab one of the cubes, but Hinata gets close to the other. Before grabbing the second cube, he notices the man has recovered. With difficulty, Sherry finally manages to move and get up from the ground. Wielding his sword, the vice captain also prepares to return to the fight. Advancing with his sword, the vice captain joins the fight against the enemy. With a smile on his face, the green-haired man says the situation is bad. Jumping over the attack, he manages to dodge the vice captain's blow. Starting to run, he decides it's time to retreat from the battle. Stopping at a pool of shadow, he warns that he will retreat for now. Seeing the escape, the vice captain shouts desperately for him to wait, but the enemy turns and warns that he will remember his face. Then he sinks completely into the shadow, finishing his strategic escape. Irritated, the vice captain hits the ground where the enemy just disappeared. On his knees and frustrated, he laments that the enemy managed to escape from there. From afar, the rest of the group just watches the outcome of that pursuit. Seeing the scene, the blindfolded student says that in the end, it came to this. Approaching Hinata, the vice captain apologizes and thanks him for being saved. But suddenly Hinata's body gives out, and he faints completely. Running to his aid, Sherry shouts for him to hang in there. Kneeling beside him, Sherry says he has already surpassed his limit. Lying unconscious, he continues to rest after the intense battle. Observing the boy, she realizes he doesn't hold back in critical moments. In a memory, she understands that he got stronger at the last moment. Lying on the ground, he continues to feel the side effects of his power. With a smile, Sherry says that Asahi Hinata is an interesting guy. Changing scenes, the Kansai Countermeasures headquarters is shown from afar. In a meeting, the result of the incident is being discussed by the leaders. Sitting at the table, a man says stealing tools is an outrage. Another member of the meeting warns that they need countermeasures quickly. Showing her hands, Sherry explains that protecting the backs of the hands will be enough. Sitting with crossed arms, Shio claims to have an idea of who controls them. He reveals that the criminal guild Niflheim is famous for using this power. With his hand on his head, the meeting leader laments the mountain of problems. Changing the subject, Director Tsushima asks Sherry about her plans. With a smile, the director questions her staying without her treasure tool. Interrupting the speech, Shio says the point raised is valid. Explaining the situation, she reveals the recovered tool wasn't hers. Passing on the position, she announces that Katsumata will manage the guild. Being questioned, Sherry announces to everyone that she is retiring. Winking, she says she found something she wants to do now. Confirming her decision, she turns to Tsushima and makes a request. With a confident smile, she asks if he could do her a favor. Changing scenes, an announcement is made to the entire Valkyrie Academy. Over the loudspeaker, a voice warns that it has a sudden announcement to make. As all the students listen, the voice speaks about a temporary hiring. With the students gathered, the voice announces the introduction of a new teacher. Suddenly appearing, a woman breaks the podium with her hands. With a smile, she introduces herself as the new combat instructor. Yelling excitedly, she says she'll be in their care, leaving everyone shocked. 2 days after the internship, the scene shifts to a quiet location. Sitting in his room, Hinata studies a bag of crystals while the girl rests. Inside the bag, various crystals of different colors and sizes are visible. Holding it, he's surprised by the sheer amount he received as a reward. He wonders if performance rewards are always this high. The girl asks why he looks worried, and he considers selling them. She then warns him that he wouldn't be able to absorb them all anyway. Following up, she suggests he try using the largest crystal. Upon touching the crystal, a system notification appears before him. The message warns that he cannot absorb the crystal without first defeating the monster. Resigned, he realizes he can't cheat, and the girl confirms it. Winking, she reminds him that he needs to show strength and heart. She explains that the suit only reacted because he faced strong enemies. Embarrassed, he lowers his head upon hearing that he passed out from excessive consumption. Staring into space, he reflects on the true power of the bravery suit. Checking the update list, he sees the suit boosts physical performance. Remembering the fight, he realizes that if he hadn't awakened, he would be defenseless now. Holding the crystals, he decides to absorb them to get stronger. The system informs him that he absorbed the crystals and fulfilled a condition. Next, a new screen shows rewards and access to the Wrath suit. Suddenly, his body is enveloped by new energy following the absorption. Seeing the reaction, the girl just watches him from the bed. Smiling, she sees that he acquired the Wrath suit bonus. The new passive ability makes him stronger the closer he is to death. The very next day, the scene moves to classroom 1B. Entering the room, the new teacher faces the students with a serious look. Sitting at his desk, Hinata is shocked to see who the teacher is. Subaru stands up and starts talking about the morning presentation. With his hand on his face, the teacher announces the name of the new assistant. Introducing her to the class, he says that Sherry Truman will be the assistant teacher. Shocked, Subaru wonders why she became a teacher so suddenly. Asking her to observe, the teacher leaves the class in the care of the new instructor. Moving between the desks, Sherry walks through the room with a confident posture. Her firm steps echo slightly as she gets closer and closer. Stopping near his desk, Hinata wonders if he is the target. With her right behind him, he questions if it's because he didn't hand over the cube. In a flashback, he holds the cube recovered during the last mission. He asks if he can keep it, and Sherry questions the reason. Explaining the situation, he claims the object belonged to someone very important, but he covers it up, claiming it was a crucial item for ongoing research. Faced with that answer, Sherry just reaches out to take the cube from him. Taking the item, she promises to handle it with the utmost care. Back in the present, he tries to understand why this whole situation is happening. Unable to concentrate, he wonders how he will attend classes like this. Switching to lunchtime, the school hallways start to fill up. Walking through the school courtyard, students enjoy the sunny day. Sitting on a bench, 2 students eat their snacks in silence. Approaching the girl, the boy offers the cookies he prepared for her. Stammering a bit, she asks what he wants all of a sudden. He then asks what she thinks of Asahi from Class B. With a hand on her chin, she asks if it's the one whose suit changed. Saying the suit is tacky, he corrects her, talking about his strength instead. Curious, he asks who would win in a fight between her and Asahi. With great confidence, she replies that absolute victory would be hers. Faced with the answer, he just stares at her with a serious expression. Remembering the fight, he realizes his speed was impressive. Coming up from behind, a boy suggests he fight if he's so curious. He then taunts him, saying the boy prefers fighting humans. Smiling, the blindfolded boy warns that something is coming. After the conversation, the two just watch their colleague walk away. Outside, the Grand Military Academy Exchange Festival approaches. Walking down the hallway, 2 students observe a colleague ahead. Waving from the doorway, 2 girls call for Asahi and ask about the internship. Excited, Subaru says it was incredible, and wishes she had seen it. Curious, the girl asks who he is, and Subaru explains they are friends. Noticing his appearance, she asks if he lost weight recently. Asking to join the group, Subaru says if Asahi accepts, it's fine. Arms crossed, the blonde girl immediately refuses his request. She explains he's too direct and sudden, so the answer is no. Turning to Hinata, he asks for the new friend's opinion. Making a peace sign, the blonde girl celebrates her victory. Looking at the door, the pink-haired girl notices something strange. She then asks if they know the people watching them from the doorway. Surprised, he says they were following them before they arrived. Seeing the reflection in the glasses, the girl realizes they are looking at Asahi. A classmate comments that Hinata is being targeted by everyone today. Seeing the two at the door, he shouts that they should hide better. Realizing they were discovered, the two quickly close the classroom door, but the boy with glasses opens the door and says there's nothing to be done. The blonde girl then recognizes the upperclassman who was spying at the door. With a serious look, she confirms she knows exactly who he is. She explains he is a Class A veteran competing for the top spot. Staring at Hinata, the veteran asks if he is really the Asahi he was looking for. Sitting in his chair, Hinata is shocked to learn who he is. Wearing a huge grin, Hagani beckons students to join the Magic Research Club. Right on cue, a girl cheers, declaring his pitch absolutely incredible and fantastic. Watching the scene from a distance, Hinata simply observes their little performance in the school hallway. Flashing a sign, she screams that her combat power just jumped by 3 million. Hagan fakes shock, claiming her results are truly unbelievable. Despite the theatrical display, Hinata remains motionless, showing zero interest whatsoever. Back in the classroom, Arakawa asks Yakumo why they're recruiting for a club in January. Sitting at his desk, Hinata flatly states he has no interest in joining any club at all. Suddenly, a woman appears next to him, asking him to reconsider his decision. Surrounding his desk, the entire group urges him to just give it a look. With a confident gaze, the woman guarantees the visit will be well worth his while. Looking at the recruiters, she remarks that they act like seasoned veterans. Then, she reveals the twist. Arakawa is actually a new teacher starting that very day. After class, Hinata and the others arrive at the clubroom door. Staring at the mess inside, one of them asks if this is really the clubroom. Eyeing a cluttered table, he comments that the place is definitely a bit messy. Hinata asks if these seniors are the only members, and Daba simply nods. He then introduces himself as Mitsuru Daba, the club president, alongside his partner, Maho. Daba explains they used to have another member, a student named Hazane. Sadly, he reveals that member ended up leaving the academy for some unknown reason. Adjusting his glasses, Daba begins to explain the school's current situation more clearly. He states that because this is a military academy, most clubs simply don't exist. According to him, the few that do are focused strictly on combat skills and physical conditioning. Daba then asserts that the Magic Tool Research Club is the only cultural club on campus. Arakawa points out that nobody at a military academy is looking for regular student activities anyway. That's why, Daba laments, the club has zero popularity and no faculty advisor. Hinata then questions how they can even be an official club without an advisor. Maho explains that they've managed to keep the club running unofficially regardless. Recalling a recent conversation, she mentions they were warned about their budget being cut. She finishes by adding that they were also informed their clubroom would soon be confiscated. Yakumo deduces that's why they asked Professor Sherry to be their advisor. Revealing the truth, they admit her condition for joining was recruiting Hinata himself. Confused, Hinata asks why he was chosen for this. Turning her face slightly, Sherry begins to explain the real motive behind the invitation. Holding up an object, she says she thought he might need it. She starts by explaining that magic tools utilize the energy contained within magic crystals. With formidable power, they can even be used to fight monsters from other realms. Sherry then asks why they are rarely used, and Sachi responds that they are inferior. Indeed, magic tools can't compare to even a one-star treasure, but Sherry reveals that this specific object changed the perception of magic tools entirely. She claims it can easily capture another person's sacred treasure. According to Sherry, the news hasn't spread yet, but creating countermeasures is already essential. Furthermore, it was discovered that these magic tools hold untapped potential. She concludes by saying that future battles will incorporate both types of equipment. With great enthusiasm, Daba interrupts, saying there's still so much more to tell. Striking a pose, Daba declares that magic tools are full of dreams and possibilities. Giving another example, he reveals a suit of power armor that utilizes magic crystals. He explains that while powerful, it's still unfeasible right now, but it could become something amazing. With a confident smile, he reveals his ultimate dream is to build a super robot. Arakawa and Hinata are shocked, while Yakumo comments that boys love that stuff. Sachi also reacts with great excitement, prompting Yakumo to ask if she's interested too. Ignoring the chatter, Sherry states she personally would like Hinata to join the club. Being totally honest, she confesses her true desire is to train him personally. She then reveals she noticed the secrets hidden within his sacred treasure. Furthermore, she promises that if they restore the item, he can keep it. After the proposal, she just waits, asking what he thinks of it all. Hinata responds that it sounds good, and Yakumo seizes the moment to talk about a future event. She explains about an upcoming inter-academy festival, suggesting it's good to have opportunities to shine. Considering the proposal, Hinata reflects on these chances to stand out. Finally decided, he confirms to everyone that he will join the research club. Scene change. Inside a portal, torches illuminate a very grim path. Within, the boy observes a creature he just defeated on the ground. Following a long corridor, he advances deeper and deeper into the dungeon. But arriving at a cave, he stops suddenly, noticing a new problem. Hesitating for a moment, he observes the threat awaiting him just ahead. Emerging from the shadows, two gigantic monsters completely block his path. With furious glares, the two creatures prepare for the coming combat. Adopting a fighting stance, he readies himself to face the two guardians alone. Then, the horse-headed monster charges in his direction with immense speed. Leaping towards the enemy, he concentrates all his strength into a single strike. He lands a powerful blow squarely on the giant creature's chest. Realizing his attack had no effect, he's surprised by the monster's resistance. The creature raises its hand to effortlessly crush him against the ground. Suddenly, a mysterious figure intercepts the blow, saving the boy at the last second. Counter-attacking, the newcomer lands a devastating hit on the creature's head. Using the monster's body as leverage, he prepares for the next attack. He then unleashes another powerful blow, aiming directly at the giant creature's chest. Even taking the hit, the monster just bares its teeth without taking a single step back. Confused, he wonders why his attack isn't working properly. Suddenly, the bull-headed monster attacks its own companion with its axe. Paralyzed by surprise, he just watches the unexpected fight that started right in front of him. Looking up, he follows the scene, shocked by the creature's betrayal. Scene change. Hinata complains that his attack power is still too low. He also laments that his suit's stamina consumption is way too high. Someone approaches and comments that he seems to be having a lot of trouble. Sitting nearby, Kari says he's improved but still has a long way to go. Revealing the solution, she tells him the answer is to develop a special move. Sitting on the floor, Hinata asks what these special techniques actually are. She explains the new suit is strong, but only against opponents who take damage. Kaori warns that against highly durable enemies, he's still completely powerless. Speed won't help, she reminds him. He needs to actually defeat his opponents. Looking at a screen, he wonders if he should just boost his strength through updates. Kaori shoots that down. The solution isn't learning some new powerhouse skill. According to her, any power he uses is just utilizing what already exists within the treasure. Pointing right at him, she explains that the secret lies entirely in the application. She mentions Shizuku, noting that his childhood friend has already mastered this concept. Kaori explains further, Shizuku's treasure involves coating objects in vital energy, but she doesn't just coat them, she projects that energy outwards as an attack method. Giving him advice, she tells the boy he needs to create his own unique technique. The very next day, the teacher greets the class and announces practical training. Still at his desk, Hinata keeps reflecting on the special technique he needs. Scanning the list, he concludes it's not as simple as just combining his existing skills. Letting out a huge yawn, Arakawa arrives in the classroom and says good morning to everyone. Seeing his friend, he asks why Hinata has such a serious look on his face. Hinata explains he was just deep in thought about special combat techniques. Entering the room, Professor Daba warns them that class is about to start. He then announces that an exchange festival will be held at the end of the month. According to the professor, the official purpose of the event is to verify their progress, but he reveals that in reality, it's a festival for the public to enjoy. He adds that the event will be held at the Sphere Dome and will have outside visitors. Arakawa complains, saying they'll just be a spectacle for everyone's entertainment. Raising his hand, Hinata asks exactly what they'll be doing at the event. The professor praises the question and asks Professor Sherry to explain the details. Signaling for attention, Sherry informs them the festival will have two main events for everyone. She explains there will be optional individual fights and team battles for the clubs. Having another doubt, Arakawa raises his hand to ask about the festival rules. To wrap up, Sherry says that the special rules will only be revealed on the day of the event. Questioning the teacher, a female student asks if the event isn't too dangerous. The professor explains that a medical team from an S-class guild will be present. After class, everyone gathers in the new research club room. Daba announces they'll start preparing for the festival immediately. Excited by the news, All club members agree to begin preparations. Sachi then asks exactly what they'll be doing to get ready. Adjusting his glasses, Daba says that the use of magic tools is permitted at the event. Celebrating, he explains they'll have a huge advantage if they create powerful tools. Maho then reveals with a smile that they sold yakisoba at the previous year's festival. Showing a photo, she displays last year's stall featuring a weird robot. Daba then recounts how the robot exploded and caused massive chaos at the festival. Arakawa asks Yakumo why she joined the research club. She explains that she thought she could contribute more by using magic tools in battle. Arakawa then apologizes and says she can call him Subaru from now on. Interrupting the conversation, Sachi points out that she isn't actually part of the club, surprising Arakawa. Daba notes he'll explain the tools, but first asks Yakumo for a favor. He asks her to go get the teacher, and Hinata decides to tag along. Leaving the room, the two walk together through the school courtyard, looking for the counselor. As they walk, Yakumo comments to him that the days are getting much shorter. Suddenly, Hinata hears someone yelling and turns to look at the commotion. Up ahead, a female student is screaming at another girl who is on the ground, apologizing. Observing the scene, Yakumo realizes those students seem to be from another school. Fallen on the ground, the girl just keeps gathering the papers that were scattered. At that, one of the boys says she shouldn't have volunteered if she was just going to get in the way. Without saying a word, the other student in the group simply turns his back and walks away. Announcing that he's going ahead, he leaves the two girls behind without even glancing back. The bully girl yells for her colleague to hurry up and stop stalling. Watching the scene, the remaining guy gets irritated while the girl on the ground apologizes repeatedly. Pulling at his own collar, he clicks his tongue, totally out of patience with the situation. Then, he shoves her head forcefully down onto the papers on the ground. Shocked by the scene, Hinata and Yakumo watch the assault in disbelief. When the bully girl questions if kicking her isn't taking it too far, she hears him order her to shut up. Without pausing, he approaches and yanks the victim's braid with tremendous force. Continuing to pull, he complains that his reputation could tank because of this. He accuses her of being a Class D nobody meddling where she doesn't belong. At that, the other girl reveals with a smirk that she was the one who knocked her down. Still holding her hair, he asks if she can just give up on organizing the event. Hesitating for an instant, the victim just remains silent, not knowing how to respond. He throws her back onto the ground, asking if she really wants the points that badly. Readying his foot to kick her, he orders the girl to gather all the scattered papers. Suddenly, Hinata grabs him by the hair and shouts for him to pick them up himself. With a quick movement, he slams the aggressor's head forcefully into the ground. Screaming in surprise, the bully girl asks what he thinks he's doing. Lying on the ground, the boy furiously asks who attacked him. Still on the ground, the victim girl just raises her gaze in Hinata's direction. Looking up at him, she wonders if he is some kind of giant. Stretching out his arm, he stepped between the fallen girl and the aggressors. Positioning himself in front of her, Hinata shielded her as Yakumo came over to assist. Furious, the attacker jumped up and yelled, asking who he thought he was, interfering like that. Shouting at them not to mess with him, the guy lunged forward with a straight punch. Moving quickly, Hinata stopped the punch without breaking a sweat. Gripping the attacker's fist tight, he introduced himself as an acquaintance of the girl. The guy squirmed, trying uselessly to break free from Hinata's grip. With a dead serious look, he demanded the attacker apologize to her, right now. Interrupting the fight, the girl thanked him but said it was fine. He could let go. She explained that this was her problem. She needed to solve it herself. Hinata let go of the guy's arm. The attacker just glared back, furious. After the commotion died down, she crouched back down to gather her scattered papers. Handing over the papers, the bully told her to take them and get lost. As he walked away, he warned Hinata that he'd remember his face. Watching the group leave, Hinata asked if she was sure she'd be okay. Still confused, Hinata asked why she had been talking about points earlier. The girl thanked him, saying he was still just as fair as he'd always been. Yakumo asked if she had also enrolled in the VA military academy. Curious, she asked how Hinata knew the girl. He explained they were just old acquaintances, kind of like him and Shizuku. Taking in that news, the girl realized Shizuku was also at the VA academy. Smiling, she wondered if her friend was still working hard. Grabbing his hand, she said she needed to go take care of some things. Saying goodbye, she told them they'd meet again at the exchange festival. Back in the club room, Sherry said she understood what the commotion was about. Annoyed, she asked if he at least beat them up properly. Daba explained they were from Odin Academy, which was famous for its point system. Sherry detailed how their classes changed based on point fluctuation. She concluded that because of this system, their students were much harder workers. Rubbing her temples, Sherry lamented the situation, but seemed to have an idea. Sherry explained that Odin Academy students had incredibly low camaraderie amongst themselves. Remembering the past, She mentioned that even in her guild, they refused to work as a team. Daba said that was why the point system had lost so much popularity. Arakawa shot back that VA Academy wasn't much better when it came to Sabotage. Sherry then asked if his childhood friend was really on the organizing committee. Stating she was a formidable opponent, Sherry warned that Odin would be fighting for points. Full of excitement, Sachi jumped up and yelled that they couldn't lose the festival. Celebrating, Maho reminded everyone that a good result would increase their club funding. Listening to the conversation, Hinata just reflected on facing a strong opponent at the festival. He remembered the girl, wondering what kind of person she had become. Scene change. Shizuku was walking down the hallway when she saw her old acquaintance up ahead. The girl stopped and turned, waiting for Shizuku to approach her in the hall. Standing face to face, the two just stared at each other in silence. Without saying a word, they simply walked past each other and continued on their way. Heading in opposite directions, they moved apart without looking back. With a dark look, she whispered the word murderer to herself. Shizuku just stood there, watching the girl walk away down the hall. Seeing the uniform, she realized the other girl had also joined a military academy. With a subtle smile, she said this situation was actually quite convenient. She stated that thanks to this, she felt secure in her own sense of justice. Cutting to the meeting room, the door suddenly opened in front of them. Arriving in the room, the girl apologized to everyone for being so late. The bully yelled at her, asking how she dared to humiliate him like that earlier. Ignoring the question, she just asked if the meeting had started yet. A colleague noted that not everyone had arrived, so they had to wait a bit. Irritated by being ignored, the bully advanced to attack her with a strike, but she turned and blocked his blow with agility before it could connect. Bracing her hand against the wall, she stopped his attack with ease. With a quick movement, she threw him over her shoulder, slamming him onto the floor. Dusting off her hands, she asked if he was the one who had kicked her earlier. With the attacker on the floor, she said that was an eye for an eye. Witnessing the scene, the other girl stood completely paralyzed, unable to react. The colleague asked if the charade was finally over, and she just confirmed it. He thought it was weird that someone like her, who could dodge anything, would just trip. She revealed it was because someone she wanted to meet had passed by right at that moment. Smiling, she said the situation changes when it's someone interesting. She confessed that Hinata had surprised her, being very strong and cool back there. The other girl asked what was going on. She thought this girl was Class D. The guy explained she was a transfer student and started with 0 points in the class. Revealing the truth, he said her name was Takamine Rin, former Class A student. Over in the artifact measurement room, a speed test begins. Watching the trial, Sachi, Yakumo, and Arakawa are completely shocked by what they see. Sprinting at high speed, clones of the test subject appear all over the training room. Sherry yells for him to stop, and Sachi comments on the shift in power. Exhausted and gasping for air, Hinata leans on his knees after finishing the speed test. Without giving him time to rest, Sherry calls him for the next test. She asks for full power, but without using his one-time move. Preparing the attack, he focuses while activating the mark on his fist. With a clenched fist, energy concentrates for the most powerful strike possible. Activating his suit, he readies himself to unleash a blow with all his might. He then smashes the power measurement machine squarely with one hit. Right then, the electronic scoreboard displays the number 1258. Analyzing the result, Sherry says that with this power, he could defeat a D4 enemy. Looking at the tablet, she states that the performance of his sacred artifact is clear. Sherry then reveals that his artifact is equivalent to a 3-star rank. Yakumo shouts that his artifact should be at least 4 stars. Sherry explains that even with the speed, the ranking remains 3 stars. Reflecting on this, Arakawa is surprised that it's the same rank as his own. He mentions that the evaluation seems to be significantly underestimating Hinata's power. Sachi counters that the evaluation is fair, and Yakumo asks if she would beat him. With a serious look, Sachi admits that if she fought him right now, she would lose. She then adds that the artifacts aren't meant for fighting against herself after all. Sherry explains that the purpose of the artifacts is to prevent disasters from other realms. According to her, what matters is effectiveness against creatures, not humans. She points to a lack of stamina and power as the reasons for the low rating. Even so, Sherry claims that rank doesn't mean much for that specific artifact. Then, she asks if the suit drains his stamina as compensation for the power. Sherry advises him to focus on building more basic physical stamina. She reminds him this will help prevent what happened last time. Thinking about it, Hinata agrees that without basic stamina, he'll get knocked out easily. Having said that, Sherry turns to him with a new training plan, ordering him to run 5,000 laps, She watches him start the workout. Stopping his run, he mentions he'd like to discuss something before continuing. He reveals he's having trouble creating his special final move. Sherry explains that an artifact's techniques apply its inherent properties. Analyzing his case, she suggests applying the technique of his charged strike. Hinata asks if she's referring to the Fist of Fury ability. He says it's a skill of the suit and questions how he could apply it. Reading the description, he sees that the power is channeled into a single strike. Suddenly, he pauses for a second, looking like he just had a great idea. Switching to a training portal, Shizuku practices in a forest with her sword. With eyes closed, she concentrates on sensing the environment around her. Without even looking, she attacks a monster, trying to surprise her from behind. She tells herself she needs to sense enemies faster without using sight. Closing her eyes again, she prepares to focus all her concentration. Recalling the past, she hears various voices calling her trash and disgusting. In a dark memory, she sees a figure telling her to simply disappear. Back in the present, the accusation of being a murderer echoes in her mind again. Eyes shut tight, she tries to ignore the memories, but they keep coming back. Suddenly, an explosion snaps her out of her thoughts and brings her back. A colleague approaches and mentions she seems pretty distracted lately. Turning around, she sees Snake Jima and just says his name aloud. He invites her out on a date, but she immediately rejects the offer. Telling him he's not her type, she leaves him standing there stunned. He then suggests she join the group match at the festival. According to him, Chloe is anxious to fight someone who will also be participating. With a confident look, he says he thinks it's a very good idea. Remembering the past, he notes that in certain situations, people attack one another. Handing over the paper, he states that being good at interpersonal combat is important. Reflecting on the advice, she thinks about the importance of interpersonal combat. Making a decision, she takes the pen and signs the registration form. Looking at the clipboard, she concludes that meeting the girl wasn't a coincidence. Handing in the registration, she says she accepts the challenge to participate in the competition. Turning to leave, she warns that if she's entering, it's to win. With a satisfied smile, Snake Jima says he got her message. He then suggests the two of them aim for victory together at the upcoming festival. Back at the portal, torches illuminate the walls of a dark dungeon. Screaming in pain, the bull monster stumbles backward after being hit. Standing before it, the warrior prepares for the next attack. Seeing its fallen companion, the monster advances to avenge its defeat. With an exhausted body, the gasping boy tries to recover from the battle. Coughing and out of breath, he leans on his hands to keep from fainting. Panting, he realizes his risky attempt finally worked. Even exhausted, he says with a smile that he managed to complete his mission. With both monsters defeated, he celebrates the success of his new final strike. On the day before the festival, preparations for the event are still going full steam ahead. Walking through the venue, Arakawa comments that the atmosphere is already getting pretty festive. From afar, the rest of the group calls for them to join them at the stall. Yakumo praises the spot. She says it's incredible and really close to the main event. Sherry then reveals she used some connections to secure that strategic location. Looking around for someone, Daba asks where Sachi is, as he doesn't see her nearby. Arakawa reminds him that she isn't in the club. She's probably just focused on enjoying the food. With a serious tone, Sherry reminds everyone that tomorrow is the exchange festival. She explains that the 3 academies will be joining up, and the rules have already been distributed. Showing an artifact, she says the teams need to collect crystals to score points. In 1 hour, the team that defeats the most monsters and has the highest score wins. Yakumo asks if there will be interference from other teams. Sherry confirms that there will be, showing off some bracelets. She says the representatives of each team will wear these artifacts. She explains these artifacts increase weight by up to 30 kilograms each. Showing 2 balls, she says the other members will attach them to their bodies. Using a diagram, she explains that every destroyed ball increases the weight by 5 kilograms. Surprised? Arakawa shouts that if that happens, the representative won't even be able to move. She then finishes by saying that if both balls are destroyed, the player is disqualified. Analyzing the rules, Daba concludes that focusing on other players is a good option. Maho notes that if the representative doesn't protect the main load, the whole game ends. Sherry then says that to prevent this, the representative must be the strongest one. With the rules explained, Daba looks at the students to make a decision. With a serious look, he asks who among them will be the team's representative. Now on the day of the festival, a huge crowd gathers for the big event. With a microphone, a reporter announces the start of the military exchange festival. She explains that due to its popularity, tickets are now distributed by lottery. The incredibly high lottery rate shows just how popular the event has become. Inside the arena, the packed audience waits to see which academy will emerge victorious. Attaching the balls, Yakumo prepares for the upcoming competition. Turning to her colleagues, she asks if the two of them are ready to start. Striking a pose, Hinata and Arakawa respond that they are totally ready for the festival. Arakawa then asks Maho if she's sure she doesn't want to participate in the competition. Giving a thumbs up, she says her artifact isn't suitable for survival survival games. With 2 spatulas in hand, she shouts that she'll focus on making money for the club. Maho then reassures everyone, saying that Hinata is bringing help for the stall. Looking around, Hinata says the help should be arriving any moment now. Suddenly, a girl appears, screaming and waving in the direction of her older brother. Waving back, he shouts his sister's name, Hikari, with a smile. Watching the scene, a boy wonders who this older brother guy is. Running toward him, the girl almost trips halfway there. Getting close, she throws herself into his arms with a very tight hug. Placing a hand on her shoulder, he warns her not to overexert herself. Yakumo then asks if he has a sister. Hinata confirms and explains the situation. He says she's recovering, which is why they let her out today. Just then, an announcement calls the League A participants to the competition venue. Warning that he needs to go, he says goodbye, and Hikari says it's okay. Apologizing, he leaves Hikari in Maho's care to head to the competition. Saying goodbye, the group waves, and Hikari wishes them all good luck in the festival. Alone at the stall, Hikari just observes the place while Maho prepares food. Looking at her backpack, Hikari gets ready to help at the club's stall. Taking out a guidebook, she wonders if those people will be her seniors in the future. Meanwhile, the Thor Academy team walks together through the festival venue. Further back, the Valkyria Academy team is also approaching the competition site. Passing them by, the Odin Academy team moves straight ahead without looking back. With a determined look, Shizuku stares down her opponents as she passes them on the path. Seeing the group, Hinata just murmurs Daba's name while watching the scene. Shizuku then asks if he joined the Artifact Research Club. At that moment, one of her team members stares intently in Hinata's direction. Showing no emotion, Snakejima just stares at the group from afar with a serious look. Hinata then asks if Shizuku is also going to participate in the festival's team battle. Shizuku asserts that if she's participating, she definitely plans to win the competition. Shrugging, he says that today is a festival, and everyone should just have fun. Arakawa and Yakumo shout that they are aiming for victory and won't lose no matter what. Reflecting on that declaration, Shizuku just turns her back and starts walking away. She then says she feels sorry for their team for having a burden to carry. Irritated, Arakawa shouts that it isn't true, and that they will prove the opposite. Daba then says that group battles also test the trust between teammates. With a smile, he states he believes his students will show their true strength. Shizuku just ignores him, saying his thinking is completely foolish and naive. To her, the only thing that matters is strength that won't hinder the team. Already on stage, Sherry gets everyone's attention, and the audience comments about her. Looking at the crowd, she asks if everyone is ready for the big event. She reminds everyone that even though it's a festival, the portal is a dangerous place. Moving on, she says that in emergencies, everyone can count on the guild. Finally, she warns that the bosses have been neutralized, but forbids destroying the core. Announcing the time limit, she forbids combat between students in the first 10 minutes. Furthermore, she forbids killing and warns that serious injuries result in disqualification. With everything ready, the Odin Academy team just awaits the start signal. Giving a smile, Sherry finally prepares to kick off the great team competition. At the signal, the teams rush into the portal, starting the great battle. Stepping through the portal, the group arrived in the forest of giant trees. Deep within the woods, Hinata flew straight toward a monster. Closing in, he grabbed the creature from behind in midair. With a precise strike, he hit the monster, sending it plummeting down. Seeing the creature defeated, the other students just watched the scene unfold. Back on the ground, Akane praised Hinata, telling him his suit was incredible. He commented that the downside was the high level of exhaustion. Takayuki noted he was doing better, and Hinata said it was thanks to Sherry. Ginji asked Hinata about the situation, and he told them to stay sharp. Checking a device, Ginji warned that team interference would be possible soon. He confirmed, saying the key was avoiding the enemy while collecting crystals. Walking along the trail, one of them hoped nothing bad would happen. Suddenly, Akane stopped walking and stared intensely at the path ahead. Hinata noticed something too and peered down the path. Raising his arm, he signaled the rest of the group to stop immediately. Scanning the forest, Hinata said it looked like things wouldn't be easy. Hidden among the trees, 2 students from another team prepared an ambush. Changing scenes, Akane's crystal was shown being destroyed on the monitors. In the control room, Sherry lamented, saying she had warned about long-range shots. Shio commented that the shooter must possess a very powerful treasure. Agreeing with him, Gonzo said the move was truly impressive. The shooter was identified as Reiko, owner of a silenced sniper rifle. Gonzo realized the Odin students specialized in pure combat. Sherry warned that the shot would unfortunately reveal their team's position. He said she was becoming a real teacher now. Asking Shio, she wanted to know if he was having any problems. He assured her he wasn't, having made sure there would be no unforeseen issues. But he hesitated, and Sherry asked what was wrong. Back in the forest, Reiko's partner celebrated, saying now there was one left. With a confident smile, Reiko replied that this was expected. Preparing the ambush, Reiko stated Odin Academy was superior to them. He commented that Hinata had just moved up to Class B and was already arrogant. His plan was to defeat the weaker ones first, then focus on the veteran. Suddenly, smoke appeared at Genji's feet, surprising the duo. Surprised, they wondered if that was the effect of some magic tool. Remembering the team was from the research club, he suddenly heard a noise. Hinata appeared in the air right in front of them, catching the pair off guard. Completely shocked, Reiko wondered how he managed to get there so fast. Her partner didn't understand either, questioning how he appeared suddenly. Giving no time to react, Hinata kicked the boy's weapon, breaking it. As the pair fell, he landed on a nearby tree branch. To save himself from the fall, the boy launched a grappling hook at a tree. He grabbed Reiko by the waist, managing to save them both from free fall. Seeing them flee, Hinata yelled that he wouldn't let them escape. He jumped from the branch and started chasing the pair through the forest. Focused on the chase, Hinata prepared to intercept the two students ahead. Landing with impact, he blocked the path of the fleeing duo. With a confident smile, the boy asked if he finally realized it was a trap. He explained that he barely missed cutting his suit completely. Caught between the wires, Hinata heard that he wouldn't be able to move freely there. Showing his glove, the boy revealed his 3-star treasure, the Millennial Territory. Warning him not to move, he said Hinata would end up getting hurt. Seeing the chance, the partner gave the order for Reiko to shoot immediately. Arriving suddenly, Takayuki cut the wires binding his teammate. He asked the pair if they had already forgotten about them. Genji appeared right after, pointing his weapon at the enemy duo. To dodge the shots, Reiko jumped back, moving away from danger. Weapon in hand, Akane announced that this was a team battle. Irritated, the boy complained that they had a treasure capable of cutting his wires. Takayuki asked about the veteran, and Hinata said they were holding off the representative. Advising his colleague, Takayuki told Genji just to trust them during the fight. Meanwhile, Genji faced down the representative of the enemy Magic Tools Club. Takayuki warned that breaking the ball would harm their veteran. Hearing the conversation, Hinata remained silent and just observed the situation. He then remembered that Rin from the enemy team should also be there. Trying to sense her, he said she was close, but her presence was weak. Not knowing where she was, he suddenly saw Rin appear behind him. Turning quickly, he prepared for the surprise attack coming from his back. With a strike, he managed to block the knife Rin was trying to use. After that, Takayuki and Rin faced each other, preparing for the next move. Advancing, she dodged him and threw a knife toward Takayuki. Takayuki was shocked to see the emblem on his uniform had been cut. Seeing that, Hinata declared that Takayuki was now disqualified from the test. He asked his colleague to exit the portal quickly, so as not to get involved further. Holding the knife, Rin apologized to Hinata for what just happened. After eliminating Takayuki, she simply stood still in the same place as before. Holding the knife, she said, "That's just how it is, since it's a competition." Hinata drops into a combat stance, ready to face Rin in the clearing. From a distance, Akane shouts a warning and throws a device toward them. The cylindrical object hits the grass, rolling briefly before finally stopping. Suddenly, it releases a thick smoke screen, covering the entire location. Engulfed in smoke, Hinata covers his mouth to avoid breathing the gas. On the other side, Rin watches the smoke spread with a serious expression. The other two enemy students are also caught in the fog. Seizing the chance, Hinata leaps onto a tree branch where Akane is waiting. Saying he'll carry her, he scoops her up for an escape. Carrying the girl on his shoulders, he bolts at high speed. When asked if he's fleeing, he says he's just maintaining distance for now. He comments that without Subaru, the wire treasure is useless to him. Admitting his error, he says he was careless and shouldn't have attacked. Then he wonders how Rin got so close without being noticed. Complimenting him, Rin says he sensed her even though she suppressed her presence. Asking about the knife, he learns it's just a standard military item. Shocked, he says the knife can't cut the uniform. It's only meant to break the ball. He then questions when she managed to get so close to them. Revealing she was always there, she says they were the ones who approached her. Her partners ask if she won't chase the fleeing group. Looking up, she replies that it doesn't matter if they don't go after them. Far away, Hinata keeps running full tilt with Akane on his back. Suddenly, he notices something flying straight at them at high speed. Taking a direct hit, he is intercepted by a bizarre teddy bear. Maintaining focus, he looks back while still carrying the girl. Landing on the ground, he stomps hard on the teddy bear that attacked him. With the bear defeated, he braces for the next threat appearing. Losing his balance slightly, he manages to stay upright after the rough landing. Setting Akane down, he spots other students on a tree branch above. On the branch, Chloe and Akiko observe the scene with another purple bear. Standing in the clearing, Hinata and Akane watch the new enemies approaching. Walking through the forest, Shizuku and Snakejima find traces of the previous battle. She questions if they understand what a team battle really is. When asked about her target, Shizuku reveals she is looking for Hinata Asahi. Her partner asks if there's an issue between her and Hinata. She answers no, but that he needs to learn a very important lesson. With a serious expression, she says Hinata has forgotten their goal. She reminds him that a single defeat means losing absolutely everything on their path. According to her, if he continues like this, he will surely end up dying soon. She ends by saying that the weak should stick together with others of their kind. Overhearing the conversation, Rin agrees that a single defeat really costs everything. She stares at Shizuku, asking why she is still alive. Turning, Rin says it's because Shizuku uses anyone to survive. Raising her hand, Shizuku orders the girl not to come closer. With a smile, she says that might be true, but accuses Rin of being exactly the same. Hearing the accusations, Rin just stares at Shizuku with a dead serious expression. Shizuku continues, saying Rin couldn't do anything and just blames others. Faced with the provocation, Rin gets furious and prepares to attack with everything. She charges toward Shizuku, knife in hand. Wielding her sword, Shizuku prepares to receive her rival's attack. Spinning her body, she unleashes a wide strike with her sword at her opponent. Leaping over it, Rin manages to dodge the attack at the very last instant. But right after the jump, she is surprised by something unexpected happening. Pulled by a wire, she is thrown backward, landing far from Shizuku. Shizuku explains that she saw the future. Rin wouldn't be able to avoid her blow. With a smile, Rin replies that she already knew this would happen right now. Shizuku mentions she had another vision about the girl's ability. Capable of predicting the future, her treasure also boosts her physical abilities. Holding her sword, Shizuku warns that prediction is useless without action. Rin says she's going to teach her about the mistake she's making. Surprised, Shizuku feels her sword vibrate and stops her movement suddenly. Rin explains that her vision is limited to only 5 seconds ahead. Suddenly, Shizuku realizes that the balls of 2 of her companions have been broken. She turns towards Snake Jima, who is further away. He questions how to fight against a treasure that predicts the future. Without moving, he wonders if her ability might end up messing everything up. Facing his hesitation, Rin just smiles confidently. Seeing that, Snake Jima says he finally understands the situation. He comments that hatred can be a very problematic emotion for them. Meanwhile, a massive impact occurs in another part of the forest. There, Genji appears completely exhausted after a grueling confrontation with Daba. Off balance, he lets his container of crystals shatter on the ground. Seeing the defeat, Daba comments that fights have already started everywhere. He activates his treasure, which splits into several floating parts. The pieces fire numerous projectiles, causing a huge explosion in the area. Seeing him on the ground, Daba comments that his bracelet must be heavy. Amidst the dust, Genji kneels, looking wounded and tired. Daba says his team is weak and therefore will lose. But Genji shoots back, explaining that luck is also part of battle. Clenching his fist, he asserts that his companions aren't weak. Daba just replies that their defeat is only a matter of time. With a smile, Genji says perhaps he's right about that, but he finishes by saying they managed to buy enough time for him to act. Pulling out a small object, he finally decides to use his sacred treasure. Without hesitating, he drives the item forcefully into his own chest. Witnessing this, Daba realizes he hadn't used his power yet. As his shirt rips, his muscles begin to expand rapidly. Facing the transformation, Daba is completely shocked, unable to react. With a clenched fist, Genji warns that he will repay everyone's effort. His muscles keep growing, revealing a mark on his defined abdomen. Now transformed, he yells that he will repay it all with his own fists. Back in the forest, Rin and Shizuku face off, ready for combat. Remembering the past, Rin begins to recount how much she lost that day. In her memory, she and her twin sister were running through a burning city. A giant monster was attacking, destroying everything in its path. Fleeing the dragon, the only thing she had left was her twin sister. That was the day she decided she would wipe out the otherworldly beings. But then, a hand reached out to help the helpless sisters. She reveals that Hinata and Shizuku appeared, saying not everything was bad. Through them, she finally found companions in the same situation. The 4 of them started living together, fleeing the city's dangers. They began training, helping each other get stronger every day. Her new comrades taught her the basics of how to really fight. After long training sessions, the 2 girls would rest together, drinking water and talking. Hinata was there too, interacting with them during breaks. She then speaks about the pessimism they should have had during those hard times. Back then, they lived a quiet life in an apparently normal school. Walking down the hall, Hinata chatted calmly with one of the twins. Meanwhile, in the classroom, the other sister talked excitedly with Shizuku, but suddenly, Shizuku noticed something and turned toward the window. Outside, a giant monster stared at the students inside. Terrified, the students were caught in another sudden disaster. Soon, the entire school was under attack by dragons and other creatures. Being pulled away by Hinata, the girl screamed that her sister was still there. She then saw her sister with Shizuku in the middle of the school courtyard. One of the survivors yelled that more people had made it out of the building. Emerging from the smoke, Shizuku staggered out, badly hurt from the explosion. Seeing their friend, Hinata and the girl ran to help Shizuku up, but one of the surviving students approached them with a scared look. Pointing at the group, she screamed that Shizuku sacrificed everyone to save herself. Faced with the accusation, the three stood frozen, completely shocked. Another student yelled that she also saw Shizuku push others toward the monster. Around them, other survivors began calling Shizuku disgusting. Asking if it was a lie, the girl looked for an answer, but Shizuku remained silent. She stared at her friend and desperately asked where her twin sister was. With a wounded face, Shizuku just stared at the ground, unable to answer. Looking up, she finally said the girl's sister was dead. At that moment, Rin remembered losing everything that mattered to her. Back in the forest, Hinata lands on a branch preparing to fight. Leaping through the trees, he moves at high speed across the battlefield. Doing an aerial maneuver, he dodges incoming attacks and repositions. He lands crouched on the ground, ready for whatever comes next. Without hesitating, he starts sprinting through the forest clearing. From atop a tree, Akiko carefully observes his movements below. Making a signal, she orders him to stop moving around so much. Just then, two teddy bears fly toward Hinata to intercept him. Striking the teddy bears, he destroys them with a single blow. Running through the clearing, he gives a thumbs up to his companion. From afar, Akan responds with the same signal, holding her massive weapon. Seeing this, Akiko gets irritated by the C-class student's audacity. Chloe then asks why she didn't deal with the C-class girl first. She replies that they already lost a ball because of that person over there. Trying to attack, Chloe complains that her strikes aren't hitting the target. Confused, he wonders why Hinata keeps dodging everything. He keeps questioning how the boy can react so quickly to the blows. Dodging once more, Hinata ducks under his opponent's attack. With a tense expression, he prepares for the enemy's next onslaught. Jumping back, he continues to evade, keeping his distance from Chloe. Noticing the agility, Chloe says it's no use, as he can't get close. Stopping for a moment, Hinata stares at his opponent intently. Chloe then realizes he has no way to defend against sharp weapons. In the air, Chloe prepares to attack as soon as he finds a clear opening. Suddenly, the entire scenery begins to distort unexpectedly. Seeing that, Hinata gets confused, not understanding what is happening. Chloe doesn't understand either, and wonders if Hinata caused it. From afar, Akane gets scared and questions what that strange phenomenon was. Scene shift. A girl on a throne screams that this is totally impossible. Sitting down, she despairs, saying this phase should still be far off. Back in the forest, the three of them also wonder what is happening. Understanding nothing, Shizuku asks aloud what that was all about. Rin warns that their time is up, and Shizuku demands to know what she knows. With a smile, Rin confirms she knows something. Just then, a snake bites and breaks Snake Jima's identification ball. Seeing her partner eliminated, Rin warns that Shizuku is about to have a horrible time. Completely shocked, Shizuku turns away, disbelieving his betrayal. With an evil smile, Snake Jima reveals he was eliminated on purpose. In the forest clearing, the three students stood motionless following the elimination. Claiming she didn't want to be an accomplice, Rin announced she was leaving. Shizuku turned to face Snake Jima as he slowly got to his feet. She yelled, demanding to know what the two of them planned to do with her now. Smiling, Rin replied that she wasn't doing anything wrong at all. Suddenly, Snake Jima appeared behind Shizuku, and Rin warned that he was about to attack. Reacting quickly, she jumped and struck, but he managed to dodge the blow. He commented that just as he expected, she could still move well. Panting, Shizuku glared at him, preparing for the next phase of the fight. Making a gesture with his fingers, he readied his ability. Pointing at her, he asked what she thought of his special power. Immediately, her body felt heavy, and she could barely hold her sword. Feeling intense pain, she screamed, not understanding what had happened. He just stood there, watching the girl suffer from the invisible attack. Falling to her knees, she asked what he had done to her. Snake Jima revealed that it was he who had broken Chloe's ball some time ago. Disbelieving what she heard, Shizuku stared at her former teammate. He explained that his snake bomb could turn invisible and explode whenever he wanted. Victims of the attack, Chloe and Akiko had been paralyzed without understanding what happened. He remarked that they must be shocked, while Shizuku remained on the ground. With difficulty, she asked what his true goal was in all of this. Approaching, he said his objective was actually quite simple to understand. Showing an object, he revealed that he only wanted to steal the artifact she possessed. In his hand, the stolen artifact was displayed in full detail. Upon seeing the artifact, an image appeared of another person holding the item. Telling her not to be surprised, he mentioned there were already rumors about it. Grabbing Grabbing her hair, he warned that she knew the risks of keeping it close. She then asked how long he had been part of that secret organization. With a smile, he repeated the question and began unbuttoning his shirt. He then revealed a mark, stating he had been a member of Nibelheim long before. He revealed the plan was to steal the artifact before it grew. Wrapped in snakes, Shizuku heard that the plan was to cause chaos at the festival. He confirmed that this was his organization's original plan. Lying on the ground, Shizuku stared at them both, unsure what to do now. Rin claimed she was different, as she had nothing to do with the plan. She said she was just a victim who was going to abandon Shizuku and flee the scene. With a look of hatred, she said she would do the same thing Shizuku had done. Rin then warned her not to expect any help from the others outside. Scene change. A monster outbreak occurred at the cultural festival grounds. One of the monsters broke the barrier, and one of the masters screamed in despair. On the phone, Shio yelled that the team event was totally cancelled. Beside him, Sherry commented that this was the first time something like this had happened. Looking closely, she said that if she wasn't mistaken, something had changed there. She realized the D-class portal had transformed into a higher level one. Shio shouted that it was impossible, having never heard of such a thing. On stage, a werewolf attacked Shio, who braced himself for the fight. Sherry told him to evacuate, but he said he was going to help. Running, she advanced while Shio was thrown far by the werewolf. In front of her, a flying monster emerged, trying to attack by surprise. From the side, Gonzo appeared and hit the monster, saving her life. He shouted for her to go, saying he would provide support at the scene. Thanking him, she started running to help others who needed her. Fists clenched, she prayed everyone would get through this. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Hinata sensed something was happening outside. He used his ability and flew at high speed, exiting the portal. Outside, flying monsters dominated the sky, indicating danger. Announcing she was leaving, Rin said that place wasn't safe either. Surprised, Snakejima said the situation was different from what he'd been told. He turned to Shizuku, saying he didn't care about the change. Taking the artifact from her hand, he said everything was still part of the plan. Without the artifact, Shizuku fell to the ground, completely weak and drained of strength. Smiling, Snakejima was enveloped by energy that protected him from the girl. He showed off the stolen artifact, stating that the first one was done. Smiling, he said the next target was Hinata's artifact. Suddenly, a massive red dragon appeared behind him, breathing fire. Looking back, he was completely shocked by the monster's appearance. Being thrown some distance, he wondered what a drake species was doing there. The impact hurled him forcefully against the forest trees. Lying on the ground, Shizuku watched the stolen artifact roll near her. Sitting on the ground, he wondered if that dragon was just a hatchling. He then remembered that even as a hatchling, it was a BC rank enemy. Through his communicator, he heard an unknown voice trying to reach him. Then he heard his boss warning that the operation was now cancelled. Irritated, he complained that they had waited a long time for this chance. On the other end of the line, the boss simply asked if he hadn't heard. Sitting on a throne, the boss told him to retreat if he didn't want to die. Hearing the order, Snakejima agreed and said he got the message. Meanwhile, the red dragon approached Shizuku, who was lying on the ground. Sitting up, Snakejima remarked that her luck had run out, adding that he hadn't planned on killing her. Using a crystal, he broke the item to open an escape portal. Emerging from the shadows, the portal swallowed him, and he disappeared from the clearing. Now alone, she saw the portal close as the dragon drew nearer. Clutching the artifact, she screamed, asking why it wasn't working. Before her, the dragon prepared to attack, its mouth full of fire. Trapped, she wondered if this was retribution for her actions. Remembering the past, she recalled the incident at her old school. She spoke about the strength she had sought above all else in her life. About to be attacked, she said she wouldn't be able to keep her old promise. Closing her eyes, she apologized to Ranchan, accepting her final fate. But suddenly, Hinata appeared and landed a direct hit on the dragon's face. Standing before Shizuku, he prepared to face the creature alone now. Leaping over the dragon, Hinata flies in to protect Shizuku. Landing in front of her, he asks why she's still here. A small creature pops up from his shoulder, and he shouts its name. Shizuku recognizes it as Anko's stuffed animal. He explains it was given to him to locate her. Looking at his shoulder, she asks where Chloe and the others are. Elsewhere, a stone golem stares down at the group from a tree. The boy in red asks what's happening. Akane realizes these are enemies from B-class portals. The boy says it's dangerous and they need to run. Getting his attention, Chloe prepares to give an important order. He tosses a small object toward his teammate. Catching it, the boy realizes it's the small white creature. Chloe warns that it will guide him to Menace right now. Holding the creature, he doesn't understand the sudden order. Standing on the branch, Chloe reveals he helped Snakejima fight strong opponents. He admits he doesn't know who Snakejima is, but someone is pulling the strings. Looking at Akiko, he warns that his target now is Minase. Annoyed, Akane questions why they should help that insufferable woman. He explains they are going to get her out and asks for help, awaiting an answer. The boy in red asks if he's on Snake Jima's side. Chloe replies that he doesn't care about others and has a bad reputation anyway. Beside him, Akiko just listens seriously. He asserts he never betrays his own companions. Back in the clearing, the dragon faces Hinata, who gets ready to fight. With its mouth full of fire, the creature prepares to attack. Kneeling, Shizuku screams for him to run, saying he can't win. Ignoring the warning, the dragon charges toward him at high speed. Hinata plants his foot, bracing for the attack. Holding the dragon, he yells while trying to push it away. Straining hard, he keeps yelling, trying to protect his fallen friend. Shizuku screams for him to run again, asking if he's an idiot, but he warns that he won't run, even at the risk of dying. He says he always regretted what happened in the past between them. Remembering that day, he says she sought strength since that incident. Desperate, she yells that yes, this is the result of it all. She keeps screaming, saying she even treated him cruelly. In memory, her desk appeared covered in heavy insults. In the hallway, others excluded her, telling her to disappear. Screaming, she says she always thought he was a pain in the neck, but he interrupts, asking her to stop talking about that. With his head down, he says it doesn't matter what they say about her. Lifting the dragon, he asserts that none of that truly matters to him. Shizuku is stunned, just watching him fight. Yelling with all his might, he starts saying what Shizuku means to him. In a flashback, he was bullied at school while she passed nearby without a word. He declares that she always was and always will be a special person. In the library, she watched him study from afar. Fighting, he always showed himself to be someone who cared about others. Hidden, she watched him train against forest monsters. Planting his leg down, he says she is just a person. Flying, he lands a fire blow straight to the dragon's face, leaving a trail of fire on the ground. He finishes the sentence, shouting that she is a good person. Seeing his determination, Shizuku just watches, completely surprised. She keeps looking at him, processing everything. Sitting on the ground, she picks up the artifact left behind. Holding the object, she seems to have finally made a decision. With a clenched fist, he prepares to continue the fight. He advances, dodging fire and getting closer to the giant creature. Hand glowing, he readies a powerful blow. Punching the ground, he uses the impact to propel himself upward, but the dragon's tail hits him square, throwing him far away. The blow is so strong his blood sprays on impact. Thrown against rocks, he causes a small explosion. Landing on the ground, he feels the pain of the blow. He says his attacks still aren't working like they should. His feet start to glow, indicating a new technique. Activating the ability, he says he's going to use the concept of ration now. His feet plant with more force than before. The dragon advances, but a bolt of energy hits the ground near it. Several bolts start falling, striking the entire area around the creature. His bare feet grip the ground as energy flows through his body. Releasing the accumulated energy, he prepares for the final attack. Several electric clones surround the dragon, attacking from all sides. Using acceleration, one clone advances at high speed for the strike. Leaving a trail of electricity, he rushes his target. Yelling the technique name, he channels more power. He runs along the rock wall, gaining momentum. His legs fill with energy, ready for the next move. Breaking the wall, he emerges amidst an explosion of lightning. With a cry of vengeance, he flies toward the great red dragon. Sensing the attack, the creature roars and prepares for impact. Seeing this, Shizuku desperately screams Yuta's name. Her eyes widen in pure terror, unable to believe what she's seeing. Just then, a bolt of energy hits the dragon from above. A new warrior appears, landing a devastating blow on the great creature.